the committee, capital
We'll
expense.
do this right off.
I love that, I love that
Yes,
thing.
the next fund board.
I love
Good
that.
evening, how are we doing this evening? We are here at the City of Laconia Zoning Board of Adjustment for Monday, March 18th, 2024. We'll start the meeting at 6:30. I would say to anybody who's here and is presenting this evening, we have a short board. That means that in approval or disapproval, you'd need at least 3 approvals to pass. And it is a short board, and we've been through this before, so at this point, I'll give the option for anybody before we start who feels that they want to present in front of a full board to have their project continued until we do have a full board. Is there anybody who would like to hold? All right.
Well, quick question. So I'm expecting my brother, and I know we're first on the agenda for a zoning approval extension.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, if we push it back 1 month, does the expiration date of the previous extension, does that matter?
Is this Watson Woods?
Is it? Yeah,
Don't worry.
don't worry, okay.
I shouldn't have said that, but
You shouldn't say that, but.
I know.
Oh,
But I
okay.
didn't say that. It's like-
Okay, so Jane LaRoche and Richard Body are here. They are alternates. Are you
I'm
full?
full.
You're
I'm
full.
full.
You're an alternate.
I'm an alternative.
So we will introduce them as our alternates. Tyler, our new assistant planner, Rob Moore, and Scott Pelchak.
And Roland Mayhew.
And Roland Mayhew. Yeah, so for given that, we'll have a call to order. And introduction.
Jane LaRoche.
Richard Bodie?
Roland Mayhew.
Mike Foot, here.
Rob Moore, Planning Director. Tyler Carmichael, Assistant Planner.
Scott Pelchat, Recording Secretary for the evening.
Acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting of February 20th, 2024.
I move that we accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? A vote? Affirmative? Thank you.
I wasn't here last month, so I abstained from
That's okay. We will not hold it against you, my friend. So we'll step right into it here. We're looking at application 202100138E. It is Watson Woods LLC looking for an extension to their project on Watson Road. Please stand up and introduce yourself and present.
Good evening. Daniel Moeller and Roger Moeller. We are the owners, I guess. We're just, I guess, here again for
We're
another-
seeking a 6-month extension because work is still in progress.
Correct, yeah. We're just going through the engineering, electrical, water systems, wells, and all that good stuff, AOT.
Everything
Just a-
feels comfortable and on track.
Never as fast as you want it to be, yes, but it is on track, yes.
Any questions in here?
I move we accept the request.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a vote to approve an extension for Watson Woods for 6 months. Positive?
Positive.
And then we'll show 4 positive on that. 4-0, and it passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. And let me check one. Okay. To open our next one, it will be 2024005, special exception. We're looking for we're looking for
They're looking for a special exception.
exception here. I just see the way it's folded together. I get it.
For an ADU.
Okay, we're looking for a special exception for an ADU. And our address is 93 Hillcrest Drive, Laconia, New Hampshire. Please stand up and present. And introduce yourself. So,
Good evening. My name is Richard Paquin. I am representing Tiffany Druin at that address to get a special exception for the ADU. We are looking to convert what is a single stall garage into a bedroom and a living room. And the other side, which was a pre-finished space, but I found out when I came to see Scott at the end of January, it was not a permitted thing by the previous owner. And that side of that, what used to be, I guess, another garage stall, we're gonna convert that into a 3/4 bath, and a small L kitchen. I think you guys have the layout in front of you. And it's just under 490 square feet.
Can you just lift the mic up a little bit so we can?
Yep. How's that?
and, you know, I looked at this earlier, but if you could help me here. So, everything, we're not adding any building to it?
No, there's nothing.
We're all within the envelope of the current building?
Yes, yes. There is a garage door on one side that we're gonna remove, and there'll be a window placed there that will go into the living room. The other side has a door and a window already there.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
No.
If you take a momentarily seat, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yep.
And we would entertain any input from the public, either for or against.
Just looks pretty easy.
Pretty easy. This is all within the realms of size relative to what it is. Being that there is no one to speak for or against it, I'll bring the discussion back to the board. Any discussion on the board?
Okay.
Scott, what is the square footage?
The realm that you need to fall in is anywhere from 350 square feet to 750.
750 was the maximum. Okay.
And there's no addition, there's no change, there's no
All right.
incursions on any setbacks. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay. All right. It is this one. I move to approve Z 02024-005, special exception for an ADU, where the finders of facts that, there will be minimal to low increase in any of the street traffic. And as defined in here, I'd like to approve it as presented from Mr. Haxman.
Take one.
I second the motion. Do you have a question? Yep. Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll make a motion to accept this, and not just accept it, to allow it to move forward.
To approve it.
All those
To
in
what?
favor?
To approve it.
To approve it. Oh, what a great word, I remember that. All right,
those-
all in favor, please say aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Paquin. Enjoy your ADU.
This one's a little different.
Oh,
Oh, come on.
This says two back-to-back.
two of
Same
these?
property, two back-to-back.
Oh, yeah, coming up. A variance and a special exception. So we have to do the next one twice, because there's a variance and a special exception.
Exactly.
Right, you can listen to it as all in one.
Sure.
You're gonna have to open it to the public, close it to the public, and vote on it,
Vote
and then do the same
variance
thing.
and then vote the special exception.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on here.
Excuse me.
All right, our next,
Mike,
yes, sir.
had two-
What is it?
I think we had two motions on, two
The next one, the one coming up.
variance and a special exception.
Yep.
As I observe this to the best of my ability. Yeah, okay. And let me read this here, okay. Can I read that, can I open them as both?
No, you're gonna do them separately.
Do them separately? All right.
But we only have to listen to one presentation?
Our next one will be an application for 78 Harlan Lane in Laconia. Is 2024-0006. And we are looking on this first one for a variance for a setback. And please stand up and present. Introduce yourself if you would be so kind.
Good evening, Jerry Cullen, 78 Hogland Lane. So I'm proposing to put an in-law apartment above a garage. I'm being told that my house as it sits now is non-conforming. I'm looking to build it even with the front of the house. They said there's a 40-foot setback from the street because the city has an easement on my side of the street. What I don't quite understand is it's a private road, why that would even be, but the city does not maintain this road. We do it ourselves. So, but anyway, I'm looking to put an in-law apartment for my daughter and my two grandchildren who need a place to stay.
Is this within the structure existing?
No. So there's a shed that's even more non-conforming than the addition I'm gonna be putting up that I would be taking down. I can show it to you on a
Two
plot plan.
sheds or one?
One. There's two sheds on the property. One's in the backyard, one's on the left side.
Right.
The one on the left side of the house would be coming down. And right now, the shed with the ramp and everything sticks out beyond where this proposed structure would be. So basically, the house sits at, I believe, like 35 feet off the street. The setback, because of the city easement, is 40 feet. So I'm looking to build this structure just even with the front of the existing house. It's not gonna be a rental or anything like that, it's for my daughter.
Is it going to be within the same footprint where that shed is?
Yes,
Just where the stairs are, it'll come out to the front and match that?
that's correct.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Sure.
So where are you actually building it? You're gonna take the shed down and you're gonna build it right there?
Could I step over and show you?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yes,
So the relief for the setback is 5 feet, is what you're looking for? Is that the shed?
Yes, this shed here would be coming down,
okay.
okay, and what I'm proposing, you see the addition I put over here?
Yep.
I'm looking to duplicate that on this
Oh,
side, so I'll
that'll
have
look
it'll make the house look beautiful.
Yeah, it will look nice.
And I'm looking to come up even with the front of the house here,
That's,
and the shed is coming down,
could be the grade,
Okay.
so I'm gonna come out 12 feet off the
depending on
side.
how big, I don't think they're gonna change
Put a
their
garage
footprint.
here, and then the second floor will be
I don't know how
602
much
square
work is
foot
gonna be done in there.
apartment
It
for
may
my
just be
daughter.
But it's not gonna be any more non-conforming than is
Well,
currently
that's not
there.
conforming.
Would be less.
There you go, those were favorite
Sounds good.
words.
That was a good answer.
Perfect.
We good?
If you give
Yeah,
it
I
a
just
moment,
wanted to make sure I understood where
Sure.
it was going.
Thank you.
you guys satisfied for a moment?
Public?
For the moment.
If you take a rest, I'm going to open the meeting up for public input for or against this project. How does he do it?
You used to do 10 seconds.
Being that there is no input either for or against the project, and we are first speaking of the setback, I gotta ask you guys, do I go setback and then the variance is
The
gonna?
variance has to be approved first before we can approve the special exception.
Right. We can,
You have
Okay,
to have permission to build the addition before we can approve the AD.
okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. So we should vote on this now?
You gotta vote on that, you gotta make your decision on this one, and then you can move to the next application.
All right. So, are there any more questions for the applicant?
not for me.
I'd like to entertain a motion for this variance
Okay,
of Article 6, 235-35.
I make a motion that we approve the variance on Z 02024-0006 as presented to the planning board on their application. Can I not say that?
As presented to the zoning board.
Zoning board,
As presented to the zoning board. What did I say?
planning.
Oops. Confused.
It's all good.
All right, second. Richard?
I will second that motion.
All right, a vote to approve. Everybody in approval? All right, so it passes 4-0, and we will move on to the second part of this, 78 Hargland Lane, and this is 2024-0007, and a special exception. We're looking for a special exception from Article 7, 235-41. And this is for, what's our
An
exception
in-law
for?
apartment,
Oh,
An ADU.
an ADU.
yeah.
All right.
You wanna do it, Richard? You want me to?
So, having been previously presented, is there any other things that you would like to bring forward or shine on to this project? No? Do you have any questions for the applicant,
I don't.
you guys? Like to, entertain a motion?
I move that we accept 0007, special exception for an ADU, as it is allowed, and it is fitting for the property.
How about
Could I make a suggestion to
Yes.
the board?
findings of fact?
Could you go through the criteria for the approval, for the record?
Okay, I will do that. Unless you wanna do it as a as the lead on this.
We can just,
I'll go back to it.
yeah, you can do it.
The use requested is allowed. So should I reform my,
Like,
No,
findings
your
of
Okay.
fact.
findings of fact.
the finding of fact is the use requested is allowed, that the requested use will not create undue issues, that the requested use will not overload city systems, and the requested use will not create excessive demand for municipal services. And the requested use will not create any additional health, safety, or general welfare hazards. More?
No,
So
that's
there's
it.
two categories.
That's it. That's it. You
There's
got it
two
all.
That's
categories.
good.
Nope, you got
It's
it.
always been a question of mine whether the second one is part of the motion process.
Okay, I will second.
Any further discussion amongst the board? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you. Have a nice day to you.
Eastman Shore.
This is just one here, I'm sure.
We're on Eastman Shore now.
All right, here we go. All right. Our next item on the agenda will be 2024-0008. We are looking for a, this isn't an ADU, right?
No, it's a side setback.
Oh, sorry,
Variance.
setback.
It's a variance for a side setback.
All right,
They wanna
so
do
we're
it.
looking for a variance from side setback. Would you please stand up and present?
Good evening, James and Susan Friedrichs. We're the owner applicants. We're looking to build a garage on the side of our house. We're in a rural residential 1 with a, 25-foot setback on either side. We're a non-conforming lot to start with. We're only 120 feet wide to start with, so we only really have, 45 feet on that side to build the garage. So we're looking for a variance to give us enough room for an extra 6 feet on the garage, and a couple of feet just in case we don't get, the construction doesn't end up exactly where it says. but-
Oh, you always want to end up where it wants to be. I can
That's it.
just say that from experience here.
You
Yeah.
don't want to unbuild.
And we also, I believe you received a letter from one of our abutters affirming their, or giving their approval of the project as well, so.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Their butters in support.
Oh, good, in support.
In support.
Want to read it first?
Sure. So this is a letter from John and Anna Petriconi, and to the zoning board, we, the undersigned, are owners of a home and property located at 99 Eastman Shore Road, Laconia, New Hampshire, as abutters to property located at 107 Eastman Shore Road by James and Susan Friedrichs. We support without objection the application made by the Friedrichs to seek special setback exemption, allowing construction of the garage. Okay, so on this here, and I'm going to ask, is, how big is the garage again? 'Cause I
So-
don't see anything in scale here for me.
Yeah, we're looking to build 26 feet wide by 32, which I've got your garage chart here, if that's was that what you're thinking about?
Ooh, that's a pretty one.
Provided by your
Make the
planning
house look
department.
nice.
So is this the
That's
size?
like going into the, how much is going into the setback?
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be a two-car garage.
Yeah, 2 and then some more in depth, yeah, 2
So-
car wide.
How far are we intruding into the setback here?
We're asking for 8 feet, we're planning on intruding 6 feet into it.
Yeah, they're asking for 25 instead of 17.
We're asking for 17-foot setback rather than 25 feet. Yeah, so 8
Wh-
feet into it.
Can I ask staff, this seems vague to me. I'd rather know what exact number we're laying it on. I don't care if it's the big or a little, or,
Sure, no, we're asking for the 8 feet for 17-foot setback. The garage won't be
where
quite that big.
25 is,
Where 25 is
Required.
required, yes.
and your neighbors are on that side, your neighbors in support are
The
on that
neighbors on
side?
support are on the other side, then it's an empty lot right now next to us on that side.
Now, is the front of the garage gonna be
Yeah, the front,
same,
I'm sorry, go on.
the same distance from the road as this?
Actually, it's gonna be back a little bit from the front of the house, from
Yeah,
where the
here.
porch is. It's gonna be farther back, yes.
The front
Yeah.
the front setback isn't a question.
Roland, you
Why
should
can't you move it
You should
further
have
back
this.
so that you don't have to
Wanna
worry
help
about
him
the
find
6-foot
that in his
extension?
packet.
Because
It's a side setback that we're worried
it's a
about.
side.
It's
Yeah.
not the front setback.
This side here.
How it
Yes,
gets
yes.
further.
Here, Roland, there's a piece right here. Do you have that piece that shows you
Yeah.
our intrusion of 8 feet? Currently, there's no intrusion.
Closer to the road. if it's
Correct.
Going to the side.
So this, sorry, I'll hand something back. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot
So
of open
in
space on this.
In a way, this does make it a non-conforming lot where currently there is conformity.
Although it's a non-conforming lot anyway, it's only an acre and a half, where rural residential is supposed to be 2.
Oh,
It's only 120 feet wide, 120 feet of frontage, as opposed to the 250,
so that could be seen as a hardship.
yeah.
Are there any more questions for the applicant?
So the empty lot is on the side where the garage is gonna be?
Yes.
Do you know who owns that land, or?
I don't. It actually was just sold within the last month.
Oh, okay.
They'll have their chance in a moment.
Okay.
Being no more further questions at this time for the applicant from the board, please take a seat and we'll open it up to members of the public to speak for or against this proposal. Is there anybody who would like to speak for or against this proposal?
Looks like a no.
We're going rock and roll. All right, bringing it back to the board, are there any further questions for the applicant?
Not from me.
Any discussion amongst ourselves about this? This is the part where we got to say, we know we're making something non-conforming, but we're dealing with a,
So all the buildings along that road, they are all non-conforming according to normal zoning, geometry now. And the building on this side is vacant, or the lot on that side is vacant right now. All of the buildings on the road, or at least in this part of the development, are non-conforming. So I kind of see this as reasonable.
It's a neighboring. But,
being no more discussion amongst the board, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
do you like it, Richard? Hmm? Do you like it? I mean, I don't mind doing it.
I move that we accept this proposal.
Do you want me to do the whole thing for you?
You want the,
I,
there'll be no increase in traffic occupancy nor infrastructure requirements. This is necessitated by the size and shape of the lot, and there is no adverse impact, and 65% green space is maintained.
Good.
Reasonably sized garages are valuable, will increase the property value and provide safer winter access to the existing house. Building a 26-foot wide garage instead of a 20-foot garage within current setback will not have any significant impact on abutters. Views and the additional 6 feet will be virtually unnoticeable from the street. maintaining 50 foot of side setback on
25.
non-conforming 120 foot wide property serves no public purpose in this case. There will be adequate buffers between buildings. The additional size of the garage will not increase congestion, nor crowding, nor impacts city infrastructure while maintaining the character of the district. It's very countrified up there in that street, in that end of the street. The first part of the street is not so countrified.
I just want to validate for the board, that was a motion to approve
Yes.
application ZO 2024-0007.
Thank you.
008, sorry.
There you go.
I will second. All those in favor?
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye passes 4 to 4. I mean, 4 to nothing. Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming to our lovely meeting. All right, there we go, one more time.
You mean the one for,
Yeah, the two that-
Is that been set back?
Did you give a letter to him already for that?
from the email from Phil?
Yeah. You have it?
I gotta let that file downstairs.
Okay, so the next two applications,
The next one pull out?
the next two have the variance request for
1921 Parade Road.
They've
Something
asked for a
else?
continuance until the next zoning board meeting.
Okay.
So do we have to say we grant a
Yep, so you're gonna have
continuance?
to vote on that to continue that to the next meeting for both their applications.
For both individually, or can we do it together?
Both individually.
Okay. So they are asking to.
All
push it
right,
to the
so
next-
for Z 20240011, and it's a variance from, it's a variance for
It's a zone relief.
zone relief. And, if I could have a motion to, say that we will continue this until our next meeting.
I make a motion for number, was that a Z or two? Z0, zoning, okay.
Yeah.
It's a Z.
2024-0011, that the variance application is continued.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Aye, passes 4 to 1
Can you
for
Can you
continuance.
just specify the date for that?
The date is, can someone tell me?
April 15th,
Oh, tax day.
the third Monday.
April 15th?
Yeah.
Director, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is it any feedback from the applicant about how much time they need to get their information together? Did they give you any feedback on that?
They did not give me any feedback on it. They just sent an email this morning asking for a continuance until next month.
Okay, so next month, that's fine. I was
Yeah.
I was just gonna make a suggestion that we continue it, like, give them 6 months, just so that if they don't make it together for the next one.
I think we've found in the world that it's easier to step it right along.
There you go, fair enough. Okay, thank you.
All right, and so for that, did we
Did they
vote
on that?
yet?
I would vote again.
We did.
I would vote.
We need to vote.
All right. So all in favor of accepting
11.
this variance, 2024-001, extension,
You're continuing it until next month.
continuing by
Allow a
extension,
continuance, yeah.
to allow the applicant to come forward with their presentation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we are moving along to 2024-0012. This is also a variance on Parade Road, and it would be 1921 Parade Road, and we're looking for a variance on lot size. Take a motion for continuing this until April 15th.
I will second.
No, you gotta give me a motion.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, I thought you were making the motion.
No.
Oh.
I already saw how these guys do this.
I make a motion for number 2024-0012 to continue the application for a variance till next month's meeting of April 15th, 2024.
All in favor of the
Continuance?
continuation?
Yes.
Please say aye, aye, and so that's 4-0.
Okay.
It granted the extension. We're going, is everybody good?
Yes.
Everybody comfortable? Let me take this out of my way.
You okay?
All right.
Can I get something? Okay?
Done and gone. We're going to move on to the next presentation. It is 2024-0013. This is for Aquavista, and the street address is 304 and 312 Soleil Mountain. And please step forward and present your intent.
Oh, is anyone here?
Is anybody here for Soleil Mountain?
Guess not.
Chris Dupree didn't show up.
Did you have any contact with these guys?
Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, he was behind the glass.
Wrong side of the fishbowl.
Come right on.
Greetings, how convenient.
Mr. Foot, how are you?
Very well, sir.
Timing's everything.
Chris, we'll get you an easel set up here. Okay.
I forgot. I'm doing my best.
As we all are.
Okay, so when you put this up, I'm gonna try to adjust the camera and catch it,
Okay.
and I'll get some.
Shoot, did I go too far?
Good.
Greetings, Chris.
Oh, good.
Good evening,
Please step
everybody.
right into it, introduce us, tell us what
Okay.
we're looking at here.
A lot of familiar faces still, even though it's been a while. But anyway, Chris Dupree on behalf of the applicant, Aquavista LLC. Proposal's pretty straightforward. This is the single-family neighborhood at Meredith Bay. The commercial resort shorefront residential line runs through about like this. In this area, we've got an existing pool and tennis courts and playground and community gardens, things like that. And I'm here tonight on behalf of a private individual who wants to purchase this cluster of lots, build 4 homes. This lot is privately owned, and then on these 2 lots, he wants to put in a pickleball court complex, so 4 courts. You've got a small version of the plan in your packet. And this is just what it looks like, larger scale, color.
All right. Are these pickleball courts associated with just the buildings, or are they a part of?
They will be privately owned by the individual. He's going to pay all of the development costs and all of the ongoing operating costs, but has graciously allowed all of the Meredith Bay residents to use the courts. So, From my perspective, it's an additional amenity for the residents that they don't have to pay for. In the shorefront residential requires a special exception to allow the courts, which is what our application
why
is
we're here.
for. Yep. I think in the application, we've outlined why we believe we meet the tests.
I have a question. You said he also bought 2 other lots he's gonna build on?
He is going to purchase these 4 lots for residential, 4 single-family homes.
All right, and where's the pickleball courts in relation to those lots?
They are right here.
Okay,
Those additional lots that he is
yeah, I
purchasing.
see it.
They are,
We don't,
Already says
I
that.
guess.
the lots for the
Associations.
courts,
Yeah.
not great building lots. Pretty steep, a lot of topography to them. I mean, it will still be a
They're not attached.
fairly extensive site work job to put the courts there, but
That's, he's going through
up
that.
on the hill, there's a lot of big site work jobs there.
Yes, indeed.
Be very costly. Drainage. So when you say it's a steep lot, I mean, what about drainage and water runoff, and environmentally, is it gonna be okay? Have you gone through those steps?
We haven't in detail, but there are a couple of things. I mean, keeping in mind that we could build houses and driveways and all of that here. So we still have a stormwater issue to manage regardless. And I don't think that there are things we can do with the courts. I mean, they could be paved, they could be paved with with a pervious material, different things like that to minimize the amount of hardscape and runoff.
What's the square footage of the combined pickleball courts? Just as curiosity. I was just seeing if I could see it there.
I think a court is 40 by 60.
That's 4 courts in there, right?
Yes.
The configuration that he has there is a little bit bigger than a standard tennis court.
Are there any other questions for the applicant
I don't.
at this time?
I don't.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to
Yep.
set this out for, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Compliant group. Given that I have not received any input to speak for or against this proposal, I'd like to bring it back to the board. Discussion amongst the board.
I have 2 questions. Director, is this road private?
Yes.
Or city-owned?
It's private.
It is private, fair enough. And then also, and this may be, you guys seem to know this person, but there's no documentation in our packet that says that he is authorized to speak for this. He's a person speaking for the LLC. I don't see anything in here. And again, you guys know him, and that's fine, but I'm curious of our procedure on that.
God, do you have anything in the packet?
Fair question.
And if that's not something that we're doing, then that's fine, but.
Well, I'm curious, Chris, are we representing Aqua Soleil,
Aqua Vista LLC, yes.
Aqua Vista?
Yep.
And this is before the person has bought this, so
Correct.
you're speaking
Yes.
for Aqua Vista?
Yep.
Which is,
Yep.
he is the representative of Aqua Vista.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying that there's nothing that
Am I
puts.
correct in that?
You are.
Sure, and I'm just saying.
Many years running, as you, as you well know.
And that's fair, I'm just saying that there's nothing on the document that
Thank
connects.
No,
it.
I understand it.
I forgot to mention, the declaration for the homeowners association doesn't require approval from the residents, which are all considered abutters. But we did put out an informal online poll to all of the folks. You know, we've got 82 or 84 owners up there now.
Wow.
50 responded, 75% in favor.
Thank you.
I'm complete. My questions are answered.
All right. Any more discussion amongst us? Or before we move on, let us entertain a motion to accept this,
I make a motion, we accept 2024.
approve, I'm sorry.
Yes, to approve. I make a motion that we approve 2024-0013 special exception as the requested use is specifically authorized. The requested use will not create undue traffic or impair pedestrian safety. The requested use will not overload city systems. The requested use will not create excessive demand for city services, well, maybe a knee or two from time to time. And the requested use is set forth as a provision in this chapter.
Second the motion.
And I just wanted to point out that this in Shoreline SFF, or SFR, sorry, is special exception Article 235, Section 40. Should we read these
As presented.
through?
They read them already.
We can
They
say
did,
it
we
as
did?
presented on the application.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the words were said. All right,
All in favor?
all in favor of, to approve this pickleball court and in the shoreline protection, you know, shoreline SFR zone, raise our hand positive for approval. I'm seeing 4-0.
Yes,
And so that means it's approved. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate your presentation.
Okay, short-term rental.
Enjoy pickleball.
Oh, do you have some letters?
Yep, we got
So
letters.
this is for the next one in sequence, and I'm gonna take this one back for file.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 more after, but they're for applications
Okay.
as well, so.
All right.
Who's the chart there, brother? There we go.
So you're painting white paint?
Next on our list of applications, we're going to move to 20240014, special exception for 226 Franklin Street. We were looking for an exception for short-term lodging. Please step up and present and tell us what your proposal is.
Hi, my name is Joanne Cornetta, and I own 226 Franklin Street. I'm looking for short-term rental approval for my 5-room house.
Could you speak up a little, please? I don't
Okay.
know if it's the microphone, but I can barely hear you.
I'm hearing like an echo. That's what I'm hearing, so.
Okay, sorry.
So my name is Joanne Cornetta, and I'm looking for approval for short-term rental for my property at 226 Franklin Street, Laconia.
Do you live at that property? Like how many months a year?
I'm probably up there 3 or 4 days a week. We've been, we totally rehabbed the property. We bought it from the Goss family in August, and we've done total demolition of the inside, and doing improvements. So just wanted to, do a short-term rental and recap some of the money that we've put into it. I'm not gonna be making that much money off of it because I have 7 children that are gonna be using it as well.
Staff, if I may ask, is this, where's your driver's license address?
Laconia,
Laconia?
226 Franklin Street.
You are?
She has provided us a copy of her driver's license.
Okay,
Showing.
fair question, we've had to ask this before.
And
So you
registration.
claim that as your residence?
Yes,
Do you live there 150 days a year?
pretty much. I've only been there since August, and it's been under construction until probably 3 weeks ago.
Do you plan on living in it?
I do. We've had all of the electrical upgraded, we've had all of the walls upgraded, we've insulated it, we've put in new windows, we've put in new floors. So yeah, renting it is, I'm kind of got OCD, so I don't really want to rent it, but if there's an option to rent it, I would like to rent it.
Come on, guys.
Are you the last house on Franklin Street or the next to the last? Because I didn't see any,
I'm the last right on the corner of Bell and Franklin.
what, say again?
I'm on the corner of Bell and Franklin Street, the dirt road, the access road. It's a little gray house.
The gray one,
Yep,
not the brown one.
nope.
We're here for the special exception. This is, so far, we've got owner occupied and verified. All right, any other questions for the applicant? If you take a moment, we're going to open this up to the public for people to speak for or against this, proposal for 226 Franklin Street as a short-term rental. Please step up and introduce yourselves.
Hi, we are 3 of the residents at Opeachy Shores condominium. We abut the house that is in question. Opeachy Shores, if you're not familiar with it, is a condo association made up of 30 townhomes.
Just identify your name. for the
Oh, I'm
record.
sorry, yes, my name is Donna Bowie, and I am one of the unit owners.
Charles Scharf, 240 Franklin Street, unit number 15.
Michelle Fosher, 240 Franklin, number 26.
And I'm 240 Franklin, number 27. So our condominium association abuts this property. We are right on the other side of the dirt pathway. We're 30 units there. We are, of the 30 units, we are 29 owner occupied, owner live. We have 1 unit that is a long-term rental, and within our association, there are no short-term rentals allowed in our association at all. We have a lot of concerns about having this home now suddenly be a short-term rental property. In the application, I saw that they were looking for around a 5-day rental period. This property is extremely close to our property. Just a little background about Opeachy Shores. We We have waterfront access, and then we also have an area of woods that leads to Bond Beach. This is not a public access to Bond Beach. However, we've had our challenges because our property is not completely fenced in around our property. We battle every summer trespassers cutting through our association, cutting through our properties, walking through our lawns, bringing their dogs, bringing the children on bikes, and even parking cars on our property so that they can use the cut-through of the woods to Bond Beach, so they can avoid the Bond Beach actual gate access and have to go through there.
You're talking about some other access than the dirt road that I'm used to
Correct.
approaching Bond Beach
So,
at?
so anybody that walks our property will certainly soon find out that, oh, if I just cut through the woods there, I can get to Bond Beach. And it's private access. You have to walk across the property of O-Pee-Chee Shores to get there. So we've had this ongoing problem regardless of this housing issue. So now, the thought of having short-term rentals there with a constant revolving door of people that we don't know, that home has been owner-occupied for 60 years prior, so it was never a rental property before. We are in a neighborhood of no rental properties. So we are very, very concerned about now suddenly having numerous unknown, unfamiliar people changing over all of the time. I don't know the unit owner at all. This is the first time I've seen her today. It's nothing personal. It's just that we are not wanting to have rental people coming in and out when it's so close to our property. I also do question why, other than the recoup her fees for gutting the home, and I'm sure we saw them, how much work they were doing, because it was a very old home, and we've been inside that home ourselves. But I do question the rental part of it, because if you look at the listing of that house, it is not a waterfront home. It is not a water access home. It does say there's beach access through Bond Beach. Now, the owner was on our property not too long ago, and this is how we found out about this issue. As abutters, we didn't receive the notification about this. We heard through the grapevine. Unfortunately, there's an address issue on file that was wrong, and the letter came back in the mail to you guys. So the owner had a conversation with one of our other owners who saw her on the property, asking her what she was doing, what she was looking at. And that's how the conversation came up about the beach access, and that potentially there's a way that people can access Bond Beach through our property. So I'll let Chuck or Michelle speak, but this is our main concern, that this is a nice, quiet neighborhood. We are very concerned about having a constant flow of strangers coming in. So that's my piece.
I also see it as a safety issue because if you're familiar with Bell Street, it actually curves into Franklin Street. There's a bend, and it's the home that is looking for the short-term rental is actually on that bend between, it's not even a corner. It's on the bend of Bell and Franklin. So if there's anyone parking on that street, it's gonna be an accident waiting to happen. And it's not a very good place for a short-term rental.
And I am also concerned about the people coming through our property because they are not residents of Laconia, and Bond Beach is supposed to be for residents of Laconia. They're not gonna be able to get a sticker for their car, so they are, instead of walking down the road to the beach, which most people don't do. They want to cut through our property because it's quicker. I just feel, as a person living by myself, having strangers there turning over, I wouldn't feel comfortable with people coming and going.
I have a question. Now, if this house was rented, let's say the owner didn't live there and they decided they were just going to rent it, they have the right to rent their house for,
If they're gonna do a long-term rental,
right,
they would be permitted to do a long-term rental.
right.
And I'm not opposed to that. It's the short-term
5 day.
turnovers that I'm worried about.
Any other questions from the board?
I just want to make a statement. When I was on I was on the Laconia City Council several years ago, and the reason Bond Beach is a ticketed beach for Laconia residents only, I'm the one that caused that.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of concerned about that. There should be a fence between your land and the Bond Beach. And I think there's some money going into Bond Beach this year, and I'm gonna,
That would
that
be
fence goes up.
great. Because this is something that we've been challenged with. I mean, it's a lot of land around our property. I mean, it goes a long way all around the wooded area. So, yeah, I mean, anything would be great, but we've had this issue now. We feel that this is only gonna compound the issue even more. And again, I'm struggling to see, not that the house isn't nice, because they've just redone it, I'm struggling to see why somebody would rent this house if there's no beach access. I mean, she's likely not renting to people that are residents of Laconia. So how are they gonna go to the beach? The only way they could go to the beach is if they went through the woods or came through our property and avoided going down Bond Beach Road. That's the only way.
The short-term rental would not even be allowed to go down Bond Beach Road because it's for local residents, so they wouldn't even have a parking permit
Yeah.
to use.
The one you pay $25 for
Right.
as a resident.
You don't pay anything for that pass.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's free to any Laconia resident.
You know, the other issue that I have is, you know, in the application, you know, she wrote that there's no danger or whatever to the community, and that the renters would be put through a screening process. And I guess, you know, I'd like to know, you know, okay, well, what screening process? Who's screening them? Is she screening them? Is a private agency screening them? What's the criteria for screening? Who determines whether they meet the bar or not? And if you're renting to people, you know, other than family and friends, you don't know the people. So even if they passed an application, there's no guarantee that they're not troublemakers or criminals or whatever.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, I just looks like a recipe for disaster for our community. So that's our concerns.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
input. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak for or against this proposal? Introduce
right
yourself,
next door,
please.
218 Franklin Street.
Christine and Darren Russell. Our property is immediately adjacent to 226. And we're concerned, do not want short-term rental in our neighborhood. As stated prior, be more traffic, more noise, stranger danger.
Oh, good Lord.
It's not something we really want in our neighborhood. That house, has prior people said, it's right on a curve. It's a very dangerous curve, with Chapin Terrace, the condos, Bell Street and Franklin. Even an extra car poses a danger at that intersection.
Again, if this was a long-term rental, It wouldn't
That would
be-
be different, yeah.
different, All right, thank you.
You feel they'd be more responsible if they were a long-term rental,
Right. Just concerned about, you know, people coming in and out and the potential for the criminal element. Is that all?
Yeah, that should do it.
Thank you very much for your input. Is there anybody else who would like to speak for or against this approval?
Hello, I'm Jeanette Morse, and I live in O-Pee-Chee Shores at number 28, which is the closest condo. There's a yard and that house, and I'm concerned about noise at night. It's pretty quiet up there, and we really like to sit on our porch and enjoy that. We're worried about music and noise, and there's not going to be anybody there supervising that. I don't mean to contradict, but nobody is living there now. I see a car there when they're fixing things up, and that's a couple times a week. So that part I have exception to, and also the car has Massachusetts plates on it. So I don't know. I just know those things, and yeah, I think short-term rental, well, you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, I'm Jay Lemrys. I'm also in Unit 28, closest to the abutting property. My biggest concern here is that this is not a waterfront property. There are many properties on Franklin Street that are waterfront, and if we go through with a short term, I don't want any rental at all. This is a residential neighborhood, and if we go with any commercial development or exception for this property, we're setting a precedent for anyone with waterfront on Franklin Street to turn their property into a money-making opportunity, and that's certainly something we don't want to see.
Thank you very much for your input. Once more, is there anybody from the audience who'd like to speak for or against this proposal?
I'm Marguerite Martel. I live at 77 Bell Street, diagonally across from this home. In her application, she put that she had the blessing of the Goss family to proceed with this. I spoke with family members and with the previous homeowner. Betty would be appalled at what was going on. We had discussed short-term rentals when a close property had gone up for sale, and she was adamantly against it. I spoke to 2 of the children today, and they were not for this. I 100% back everything that people have said. It's not an area for short-term rental. It's a nice, quiet residential neighborhood. I don't know where she comes up with living here 150 days.
Hasn't been 150 days since August.
We have not seen her there 1 full week.
I've been there since Wednesday.
Please, from the audience.
So that's pretty much all I have to say. Do you have any?
If it were a long-term rental,
What is considered a long-term rental?
A short-term rental is considered anything 15 days or under. Long-term is anything above 15 days.
That's a long-term?
It's the regular rental when people rent a house or rent an apartment.
15 days?
That's long-term rental.
Wow. Actually,
all learning.
yeah, if it were a long-term rental of months, 6 months, a year, that would be one thing. The short-term rental, absolutely not.
Thank you. Please, again, anybody from the audience who wants to speak for or against this proposal, step up and state your name.
Hello, I'm Mike Zagarelli. I live at 85 Chapin Terrace. Also, my in-laws are not here, they're in Florida. They live at 91 Chapin Terrace right next door. They actually abut the property. We've dealt with a house on the other side of us that was probably an illegal short-term rental. They were renting out the house. It was a disaster. Cars parked all over the street. There wasn't enough to get ambulances down there. We had a woman who lives right next to that property who ended up having health issues, and we had ambulances coming probably once a week. She was on a ventilator and things like that, and they couldn't get down there. So we've had these issues before. I know Franklin Street has had issues that people had illegal Airbnbs, and I'm sure this is what this is going on. It's trying to be an Airbnb because that's the new rave. Everybody wants to be an Airbnb. You know, I went to Ottawa recently, and there were Airbnbs everywhere in the downtown. And, you know, they're big party houses now. That's all the kids do it. They go to these places, and they're big party houses. So, I mean, I'm totally against it. I think you're in a residential neighborhood. We've got a school 2 blocks away. I just think that, you know, I'm speaking for me and my father-in-law. I know he sent a letter. I think he either sent an email or a letter. Did you get that? Yes, Mr. Charlin, yes. Yep. I just don't think, I agree with everyone. I just don't think there's a place for it. So, not in this neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for your input. Again, would anybody like to approach and speak for or against this project? Please come up, state your name.
Good evening. My name's Grace Parsons. I live at 101 Chapin Terrace. I'm directly behind the property. And everything that they've said is obviously would be a concern of your own. And I have to say, you know, the fireworks that goes on when people rent, I mean, and they're right, that corner, I'm not on that corner because I'm on Chapin, but that corner is not good. And we've got children riding bikes in the neighborhood, people walking their dogs. In fact, that neighborhood, like they said, tends to be, people park at Levitt Park and walk their dogs all the time. It's just the way it is because it's a peaceful area. And I just, honestly, I don't think it's a good idea, and I truly believe that Glenn Goss and Betty Goss do not want this to go through. So I'm not sure about that blessing, but anything else that I should say?
No.
And what about the garbage? Is that gonna be a problem for the town? You know, everything. Think of all those different things.
Oh, yeah.
And this long-term rental thing, how long does it take to kick out someone if it's a long-term
Oh,
rental?
well over 30 days.
Yes, so the
But that's
15-day
a whole
thing's.
different relationship.
It is, but I'm
Which
just.
is why I bring that up.
Right, I'm just saying that this short-term, it just doesn't belong in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your input. Again, is there anybody from the audience that'd like to speak for or against this proposal?
Can I just make one clarifying thing from when we were here?
Sure, approach.
So, before we knew that the definition of long-term rental, when we were up here, we said, yes, we'd be open to long-term rental, thinking you meant like 6 months or a year. But if you're talking about a long-term rental is anything over 15 days, that is not something that we are looking for. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Please, and your name?
Donna Moorcroft Justlin. I own number 4 at Peachy Shores. I rented to my niece who's been there 2 years. I live over on Elizabeth Terrace. I know what it's like when you get illegal. We have a neighbor that's running a rooming house in her house. She's supposed to have 1 Airbnb, and she rents out all the rooms in the house. If she gets enough people, she'll sleep on the couch. So I know it can happen. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
She's living in it.
Again, is there anybody from the audience who would like to speak for or against this? And if not, we'll bring it back to the applicant.
I'd like to rebut some of rebut some of those statements that were made. First of all, you're really not gonna know if I'm renting or not. I came here to do something legally. And like I said, I have an extended family. I have 7 children. I have 7 children who have significant others. I have nieces, I have nephews, and yes, they don't live in Laconia. They live in Duxbury. They live in Hanson, Massachusetts. I have sisters that come up from North Carolina that will be staying at my property. As far as the parking issues go, I've already met the requirements for the parking because I can park on the side of my house. I don't find a threat in my neighborhood as far as that corner goes. As a matter of fact, I think some of these people are a little upset with me because the house for a number of years was getting water in the basement from their property not draining correctly or being paved correctly. So I think a lot of them may be upset with me. Okay, so since August, I have notified the town of the water problem that I've had in my home, and I've explained to them that I am not going to have a river running into my house. The water department of Laconia came out and installed a sewer system. So I think some of this may be back flack because I think they might have had to pay for it. Okay, as far as the beach goes, I'm not even mentioning the beach as an option. There's other beaches that they can go to. Ware's Beach is open to the public. Okay, I am going to screen my people. I will be up here every weekend with the changeover from people. But 90% of these rentals will be my family members. And if there's a problem with anybody occupying my space, and Glenn Goss did come into my home about a month ago because my daughter had 3 of her friends in the house in which they used gun stock. Okay, so when I say that I am bringing business and I am telling people about Laconia and to use the services, it's not walking through their neighborhood. It's not walking into their... Do you know how many people walk across my lawn? Do you know how many people walk across Bell Street, which is the area that I own? Do you know how much dog crap is put on the side of my house? Should we even go there? I see everybody walking their dogs. I see people, some of them cleaning up and some of them not. And guess where they come from? Opeechee. Okay, so I think that there is an issue here. And like I said, I'm OCD about my home. I've put a lot of money into it. Okay, I've put a lot of money into it. I'm not going to have the wild-ass parties that people are going to think that I'm going to have. I have cameras throughout my house. In addition, I have listened to fireworks, and I've listened to them from the guy across the street from me, one at a time. Bing, 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 bing. I've also heard them from the street behind my house at all hours of the night. So my little house is not going to be a problem in the neighborhood. You want to talk trash? I just installed a trash compactor. So I am reducing the amount of trash that's coming out of my house. So the whole development can come here, and if they'd like to talk to me, they can talk to me. But I just feel like this is a witch hunt right now.
Are there any more questions from the applicant from the board? Thank you. So at this point, pardon?
Are you bringing it to the public again?
No, not really.
You already closed it to the public.
Yep. Sorry. So we'll bring it back to the board, and I will present to the board that I have 2 letters here. One of them from Councilor Felch, one from Jane Charland, and both of them stand in opposition to this proposal.
Councilman Phelps, that is in his district, he's Ward 6.
So he's a representative for that ward?
Yes.
You said you had two?
Yes, the other one was from Jane Charlin, and this is, let's say it's in opposition.
Director, question. The applicant has stated that, well, you said earlier that she presented compelling evidence that for, again, our rules, that it has been used for 5 years as rental.
No, what I said is that she presented a driver's license.
Okay, that she
showing
was
that she's a
bona
resident of
fide.
the city of Laconia.
Okay, understood. All right, fair enough then. Now, and I guess I'm asking us, so that 5-year requirement, so it's either or?
It is
It's in
or.
either or. All right, fair enough then. So, in her public testimony, she said she's gonna be up here for the weekend, so if it's a 3-day weekend, that's 150
You
days.
just want to pull the mic up a little bit.
Where am I going here? So she's gonna be here on the weekends, and so that's 150 days out of the year, so that meets the requirements. Seems like we're right on the edge of that. Seems like we're right on the edge of it continuing to be owner occupied by her own statements. Am I, again, I'm just asking the question. Okay, we can think about that. Are there any other, Director, are there any other STLs in the neighborhood that you know of? Scott?
We would have to research that and get back with the board.
All right, so the public testimony is that there are none, and that the house was never used as a rental in the past. Okay, all right. Also for the question, that path that is beside her place that heads toward the lake, will that ever become a road? It seems like the city has an easement, and it is a walking path right now. Will that ever become a road yet?
It would depend on which path they're defining. If it's the
Yeah, I
road
see it
that
there.
leads
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Pond Beach,
Yeah.
or if it's the path from the condominium.
No. So on the cities, on the tax maps, it shows, it's a dotted line, so it's an undeveloped easement from the city. So I'm just curious, would it ever be that would become a road that would connect from Franklin to the big name street? The fancy name, so toward the lake?
Oh, Chapin?
You're talking about the road to Bond Beach?
No.
There's a road, there's a dirt road between Franklin Street and Chapin Terrace.
So Director, the house in question is here, it's on the corner of Franklin and Bell, I think. And then there is a path that goes straight back that connects to the road.
People aren't supposed to use it for vehicles, but.
I don't know the future of that road. I would have to do research.
Okay, that was just my question. It
There's
is
no
an
future.
easement from the city, and I'm just,
It could be. I am not up to date on what that road is.
okay, fair enough.
I can get that for you.
All right. All right. And another question, is family, maybe this is you, is family considered like a necessity of having an STL if family is coming to your house?
Well, you'd have to define family.
Well, and I'm asking, that,
The zoning ordinance does define family, and family would not be under the short-term lodging.
right, so if, again, her public testimony is that 90% of the occupants will be family, if that were indeed the case, then an STL wouldn't necessarily be required. I'm just asking the question.
The applicant has presented a request for a short-term lodging
Fair, okay.
application.
Okay, all right. So to us, Mike, we're not enforcement. I mean, if they don't follow the rules of it, it gets rejected. It gets, the STL gets rescinded. So
Well, it's not even in existence.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that the concerns of the public are about things that are related to an STL rules and requirements, and if they break those rules, the STL gets removed. So the onus is upon the owner to make sure that all people abide by the rules, and if they don't, parking, people, whatever it is. So, anyway.
It's a slippery slope.
This is, STL's in Laconia. It's been a slippery slope for years.
Since the beginning.
You know?
Right, and we know plenty of these who have disrupted a neighborhood.
Stretch the limits. I mean, anyway, I'm just here, these are just my thoughts as the people have been speaking and as the applicant made there. And they're just some of the issues that I see. I don't know, I mean, by her own testimony, she's gonna be here for, I mean, it seems reasonable to say, she bought it to be able to make some money. I mean, I'm making a judgment on that, but, she would have to owner occupy, and even for this to be even considered, right? And, you know, she has a place in Mass. But sure, her thing is here. I'm just
Yep,
putting
no,
out my
I
thoughts.
get
That's all I'm saying.
exactly where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Roland, input?
My input, I live up in that area on Fairmont Street. It's at the other end of Bell Street. But I see in the morning a lot of people walking. I didn't realize there were that many people that like to walk in the city of Laconia. But there are a lot of people who walk up there. And the less traffic, the better.
It just seems like it's getting a lot of opposition. It's
Well, and that's,
difficult
yeah,
to decide.
granted, we've had 20 people say that they don't want it, and they live right there.
Any further discussion?
That weighs a lot in my eyes.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
I don't know what to do. I would like to own it.
Can't hear you, could you put the brick up?
I'm leaning to it declining. But what are you thinking? Because of the opposition.
Can you just speak up a little bit so the public can hear?
Director, one question relative to the requirements. So are there just those two, 5-year history and true owner occupation?
Demonstration of community benefit.
Okay. Okay.
The 5-year benefit is out, 5-year previous rental is out. So we
Right,
don't have
you're
to
looking
do
under E.
It's
So the first one is the applicant can demonstrate the use in question has been common practice at this specific property and structure for a period of not less than 5 years prior to the enactment of the short-term lodging ordinance. Or 2, the applicant can offer convincing evidence that granting the special exception for this property includes a general community benefit that rises above the financial gains of the applicant.
All right, okay. Well, for me, that's it right there. I don't, with the community input, I don't think that she has demonstrated that third point, that it is not contrary to the will of the, so that's kind of my thoughts. The will of the community.
Let us entertain a motion.
Roland, what do you think? What are you thinking?
I move that the petition request be denied. For one of the two reasons given.
And the findings of fact, so read this out, please, completely, so we know.
Please use the application number.
Yep.
Finding of fact.
Yeah, if you just want to identify the application number that you're
Oh,
going to make a motion on, and
Number 202024-0014 SE. All right,
Looking for a short-term rental in RS,
right.
where it's not allowed.
The property will be used,
are you making a, sorry to interrupt,
A
are you making
deny.
a motion to approve or to deny an application?
I don't have it here.
To deny is what he stated, so you'll have to read this.
So, Roland, if you could just make sure you say what your intention is when you're making your motion.
I stated my intention.
Okay.
He did say deny.
Okay.
You just said it very slowly. That way. So the findings of fact,
I don't, where are they?
well, are that it is coming up with a lot of local opposition for people living in the area. Want me to do it?
The applicant can then demonstrate that he,
Jane, you want to help out with it?
I don't have it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not,
No, I don't.
We are making a motion to decline application Z02024-0014 for a special exception for a short-term rental. Findings of the fact that it has been expressed by a lot of local people that they are opposing the motion, and it might create hardship for the neighboring community. Safety concerns have, definitely been expressed. And I don't have to say anything else, do I? I mean, I did the findings of fact.
Can you go through all of the criteria, please?
Just say why it's not.
The finding of fact,
It's not
there are
in
two
here.
issues.
Just
Let her work.
just everybody
Finding
writes
of
it
facts right here.
for approval. And so it's against the ordinance.
That's not the findings of fact. I hate that stuff. I think I threw out the other ones.
See,
Facts. Granting the variance would definitely be contrary to the public interest because of everything that we've heard from the abutters tonight. I've got it here.
This is the criteria for a special exception.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, the same
So
one
you're-
we're all,
I'm
I think
doing a
you're on the
variance.
variance.
same one we're doing this, but
Yeah. See, I don't,
special exception, it's okay. Just read it. Is it authorized in the chapter? Not necessarily.
no, it's not. Okay. The use requested is specifically not authorized in the chapter, and the property will be used as a short-term rental, with each rental lasting approximately 5 days per reservation, is not being considered safe by a lot of the other abutters. There would not be any increase of services to the property, however, once again, the abutters expressed concern about trash pickup. The request will not create hazards of health, safety, or general welfare. However, again, the abutters did stand up and speak against the short-term rental. The request does not meet any of the following criteria, which is the applicant can demonstrate that the use in question has been common practice at specific properties, which is not true in this case, because they have not had any kind of a history for short-term rentals on that property. The applicant did try to offer convincing evidence that granting the special exception for the property would be a community benefit. However, we have heard from the community, and the community is definitely greatly opposed to it.
Good. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so we're going to vote to deny. Okay, when we say this, so let us vote now in denial. How many? All right, 4-0. I'm sorry.
That's why I just found this confusing. I tried to, I need Marcia Hagan, I'm trying.
You're good, you're good, you're good. All right. Thank you for, you guys for participating. Now I gotta hit my next one here.
Oh, yeah, now I get messed up.
Yeah, see how it goes?
I get messed up. Oh, this is not one. Shit. Whoops, I just swore.
Okay, this one's gonna be even better.
Oh, boy, this one. Is Charlie St. Louis still here? No. Charlie was here.
Two.
I believe
don't-
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm gonna take these two.
Please.
Thank you.
I am too confused at this point.
I get these paperwork mixed up. Shit.
It's a lot of paperwork, it's a big meeting. A lot of papers
Yeah,
done.
and I just got messed up here. Oh.
Okay, gee whiz, moving right along. We're going to take up our next item on the agenda. This is 2023-0124. We're looking at a variance for Stonewall Corners. They want a variance for storage. Please stand up and present your proposal.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Cronin, attorney in Manchester with Cronin, Bisson, and Zelinski, representing the applicant this evening. With me is Mr. Peter Grenier. He's the principal of the applicant, and Nick Loring, who is the project engineer. This particular site, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is between the saloon and Fun Spot. It's that empty lot that sits there on the side of the road. What's unique about this particular lot, its configuration, is its access. There's a private drive, Hayes Road, that you may or may not have known is there. I've been by it many times and didn't know it was there. But this lot is restricted with access off of Hayes. So any use that would go on that site would need to come in and out via Hayes. Pete has done a lot of work around the Lakes region in New Hampshire, acquired this lot and looked at what might be the highest and best use and looked at the table of uses. Certainly some discussion, people said love to have a motel there, or love to have a restaurant there. Unfortunately, with the short season and the new cost of construction, they're just not feasible uses for that particular site. It's an assemblage of two lots. It's just under about 5 acres. So what Peter is proposing here, it's kind of a hybrid. Initially, it started out as a high-end storage with a facade that looked more like commercial and residential buildings. You'll see some of the drawings. If you have them in front of you, we can hand them out. Not the type of storage that was first generation with corrugated steel and orange garage doors. These would be temperature controlled. Initially, they were a select number of them, so it would also have small office space, about 300 square feet or so. We did go to the planning board for a conceptual, and the planning board, they had some good comments and feedback. Knew that it wasn't allowed in this zone, and I guess there's been some history of other storage folks trying to get some approvals, but we would submit that this is distinctly different from what's been proposed in the past. The key into those elevations to make them look like commercial structures with a nice facade fit well. In the back of this particular site, you have residential. So you look in a table of uses, multifamily and duplex residential is allowed there, but I think anyone would submit that probably not the best place to have residential between Fun Spot and the saloon. Both great spots that I've frequented maybe too many times, but not a place I would want to have my home next to. The other thing about this particular use, which I think is really important when you look at the public interest and the spirit and intent of the ordinance prongs, are the traffic. I know traffic is generally a planning board issue. It's something that you can take a look at. This particular use is about as low as you can get for traffic generation and about as low as you can get for peak hour traffic. And when you look at this particular site coming out of Hayes, there's no controlled light there. You're competing at a light down where the saloon is, and you're competing with a lot of traffic up at Fun Spot. I know the loony bin this summer was an anomaly. We're not going to say that that's likely to happen, but you like to minimize those competing traffic turns, particularly at peak hour. So based on the feedback from the planning board and the thought that to make this a little bit more office than storage, the plan's been amended before being submitted to you to put storage in office space in each one of these units in the upper level and the mezzanine. And what we would expect is that people will use it. People like myself, and I'm in Guilford, have a product similar to this where I maintain an office, not for clients to come in and out of, but to work while I'm up here on weekends and during the week. The other part of it, you get some hobby space. You'd have some people, might have some golf simulators and things in there, as well as some folks that might store some vehicles. We've addressed each one of the 5 criteria in your packet. I can go into that in more detail if you wish. I think it's important to note that we asked an appraiser, licensed appraiser, Mr. McKeon, who I think has ticket number 3 from the state, to take a look at the residents behind the saloon and Fun Spot, as well as the proposed plans, and render an opinion as to whether or not he thought that this particular use would diminish the value of surrounding properties. He concluded in his professional opinion, I believe of over 35 years, that it would not. I think that's a pretty safe opinion when you look at the other alternative uses. If you look at the table of uses, as I say, you know, in an ideal world, yeah, you'd go put up a motel. I don't know of one that's been built new around here in a long time. Certainly you have the waterfront one over in Winnisquam, but that's kind of a different animal in a different place. Likewise, restaurants, if you could build them, the question is, can you staff them? And I think if you asked a lot of the restaurateurs around here, that's one of the more difficult things that they have, and you just couldn't make sense of it on this particular lot. When we look at the balancing test, you know, the harm to the public, this will be based on current rates and EQ. You probably look at about a $200,000 to $250,000 tax boost every year, and no really burden on services. These would be new, built to life safety code requirements, relatively little demand for police and fire. So it'd be safe to say that it would be a revenue positive project, again, with little impact on the traffic. In terms of the hardship, I know in olden days, they said if you could do something else that was permitted by the ordinance, that would be sufficient, and that you wouldn't qualify for a variance. Justice Horton in Gray Rocks, it's rare that I cite a dissenting opinion, but he wrote about the stringent nature of the hardship standard in New Hampshire and said it was too rigid. And he moved the law a long way in Gray Rocks, and he said that we should go to a reasonableness standard and move away from that. Well, it's not allowed under the ordinance, and if you can use it for something else, you shouldn't get a variance. So after Gray Rocks, there was a case called Boccia that led to Simplex, which is now the current law, which says, is there a fair application to the ordinance to this property, fair and reasonable? And that's the first step in it. When you look at it, to exclude this type of a facility, kind of a hybrid, under the ordinance, when you look at the intent of this ordinance, to provide services and utility for vacationers, recreational people, and things in the district, this is something that isn't available generally in this area. You've got those new condos there with limited storage in them, probably limited places to work. A lot of people I know have purchased and improved over the years smaller type properties to have a place at the lake. And if this gives them some place for storage and for comfort, we think it would be a win-win. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. We believe the use is reasonable, and both Pete and Nick are available to answer any of the technical questions that you may have.
One moment then. On my chart of accepted uses in resort commercial, is storage allowed?
Indoor storage is not permitted. You would require a variance for it, which is what they're attempting to do.
Right. But does it say no on the chart, or does it say special exception or variance?
It just says not permitted.
Not permitted.
Not permitted.
Now, we've had discussions on stuff that's not permitted before,
Exactly, exactly.
right?
Yep. But it's not especially denied either. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry. Good.
No, I'm curious myself here. So, but I'm just saying that we've had
It's not-
proposals that say no, and we have on this board turned down in the same neighborhood,
One just up the street.
storage, more than one.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, a multiplicity of it. My question here is this a 3-story structure?
2-story structure.
2
2-story.
stories? Because my thing here shows me I got a loft and I got a central area.
Yep. Come over here, Pete.
So it would be a garage?
Identify yourself for the
My
record.
name is Peter Grenier, primary owners.
Hello, Peter.
Hi, well, yeah. So it's basically like a drive-in garage with a mezzanine above the garage suspended with the office space in there. We put the dormers in just to break it up so it doesn't look commercial. It's more of a residential look and more appealing.
if you have a bath and a place to be and a place to plug your computer in, why is this not coming forward and a place to store your boat and your motorcycle and your jet ski? Why is it not coming forward as being residential that you can live in instead of make-believe live in and have storage available? Why is it not coming forward as residential, which is allowed in there with some extra storage?
We can handle that. We talked about that. One of the things is the traffic piece, right? Doing it the way that we do it really minimizes the traffic. If you have people living in there, say they want to get their small spot or their efficiency and have it, you're going to increase your traffic count. And, you know, we thought looking at it, this was a more benign use, both for the neighbors as well. You know, the folks at the saloon and for Fun Spot, do they want residential people in there that might be complaining about their activities that they've had for a long, long time?
I live in the neighborhood, trust me.
Yeah.
I get it.
So,
But I live in the neighborhood, and so some of the stuff that we've seen that has brought the Weirs forward is, let's admit, our housing market here in Laconia is aged. I mean,
no doubt.
right? Everybody's a 100-year-old house, you know? 50 plus, you know? So in it, I'm just curious why we didn't go, nice picture, same thing, but instead of forcing storage, building it out as an actual, you know, here's your apartment. I know plenty of others right in the neighborhood from Scenic Road and up and around that are like that, that can get the yield from the acreage. That makes it good for the developer. One of the questions in that, if you go more residential, is your access is only through Hayes Road, right? But you're not limited on your entry from Hayes.
Well, that's a state road.
Yeah, the state would have to, well, the state would take a look at it.
Hayes?
No.
Hayes isn't a state
No,
road.
no,
All the access from the property would have to go through Hayes Road.
yep, I would imagine.
Yep.
You guys have any questions for the applicants?
I read this, and I thought this was the best idea I've heard this year. I really like the concept, and I think it'll go over well. My problem is, it's in the Weirs, and the city does not want storage in the Weirs. We turned one down just about a quarter of a mile up from where this is going to be. And there was also some talk going back toward the Weirs of that hill up by Cumberland Farms, where there's nothing on it right now. They wanted to come in there and put, I know you derisively call them the orange-colored
Yeah,
doors.
yeah. Unfortunately, I think we're struggling with, and I'm sure you are too, is, the label of storage. All storage isn't the same. These buildings are distinctly different, and I would challenge you to identify anyone in this area that looks like one of these buildings with the amount of money and investment in the facade. And I know we refer to them all as the same, but they're very, very different. I mean, some of you may have seen the Bluebird storages out on 95 in different places. They're kind of a different animal, and when we say they're storage, they look like palaces to me, the commercial type deal. So in this sense, I think when you look at it and you say it's a good idea, and I really don't understand why you wouldn't want a building like this, regardless of what goes on inside of it, as long as it's clean, it's properly landscaped, the traffic is good, the tax base is good, and it kind of goes to, well, it might have an N on the table of uses, but that's why we're here, right? It's pretty well settled that you can't deny a variance use request because it's not permitted in the ordinance, because that's the whole function of what we're doing here. So I get it, we have to meet the criteria. It's hard when other people have come in here and asked for something generically the same and they've been denied. But I would suggest if other people came in with something of this quality that did the same thing, you ought to look seriously about approving them too.
look like a small village when it's done, not a storage facility. It almost looks residential from the street, but yet it's not. So you don't have the noise factor, you don't have the EMS, fire,
You
rescue.
thrive on noise. And
They love me.
You could put one of those pads into, what are they called? Rev up your tires.
Thank you very much. Any other questions right now for the applicants?
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. We're going to open this to the audience. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal? Please step up, introduce yourself, and
John Turner, I own the the High Octane next door to these folks. I figured I'd come here and if I had to put in my 10 cents worth, I would. But I think what they proposed, it looked like a pretty good idea to me. Their little garages underneath these nice offices, you know. So I thought it would, just my input, I thought it was a pretty good idea. I don't look at it as a storage area. Nothing about the place is gonna look like storage. But,
how is it going to affect your business during, I mean, you hadn't owned this property before. It was someone else. But how is it going to affect you during, heaven forbid, Motorcycle Week?
Motorcycle Week, I probably plan on helping these guys make something happen this year, and if they wanna do it next year, they can. But, over there, it helps me out anyway, you know. But nothing's forever, and I'm not in the bar business forever either. So, just my input.
Perfect, thank you, John.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this was sent in. I was remiss in not. There was a letter from a gentleman from across the road. I think it would be a butter across the street, Mr. Gagnon, that sent a letter of support in. You might have it in your packets, but to the extent you don't, I'll leave another
I'll
one.
take a look at it.
It's
Thank
pretty
you.
simple. It basically says he supports it.
Thank you, sir.
If we could get a copy of that, since the city doesn't have a copy of it.
All right, so recognize that once you submit something to the board, it becomes property of the city. It'll be handed to my. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak for or against this approval or disapproval or whatever we're up to here? Here you guys go. Now is the time to state your support or lack of support. Being no other input from the audience, we bring it back to the board for discussion.
I tend to agree with your idea of why isn't it residential.
Jane, you gotta speak up and you gotta speak into the.
I tend to agree with Mike's Foot's idea of why aren't you looking at residential instead of storage units? I think a lot of people in Laconia are, no matter where we go, we see storage units after storage units after storage units. I don't know, it just makes sense to me that it would be more residential than looking at storage units, and you could sell them and make more money.
It's not our job to tell a person what to do with the property, though. It's not our job to tell people what to do with their
I
property.
know, but
It's our job.
I'm just agreeing with what Mr. Foot was saying about his idea.
I have a question, Roland. How come you said the city doesn't want self-storage? Why did you say that?
I didn't say self-storage.
What did you say?
I
I'm
said
just asking for clarification, that's all.
Because
We gotta speak on up.
No, it's just asking for clarity of what you meant by that.
Yeah, it's been a known, at least we've been working on that assumption here, practically as long as I've been on this
Right,
board.
right.
That they don't want storage
Right.
in the weirs. It's only the weirs they're talking about.
Okay, fair.
And
Director, is that true to your knowledge? That the city takes a less than favorable view
Well, the
of.
problem was that open space up the street from Cumberland Farms. That's an ideal spot, like, to build a hotel.
We're talking to us, not to them. We're talking to us.
That's the reason.
Yeah, okay. So I'm curious, is that something that you know of?
I have heard previously that city council is is overall not in favor of indoor self-storage.
Okay, fair. If we approve this variance, will this go to planning?
So
Already been
the way this would work is if a variance was approved this evening,
Yep.
they would still need to go through planning board and get an approval through the planning board.
Okay, so it'll go. So if we release it through here, if it's a positive, then planning is gonna take a look at it again. Cause they're gonna look at stuff like density, traffic, Route 3 and all that crap, all that stuff. So, okay.
I go and throw it down. It's a resort commercial. You got a little unit, you got a little office, you got a little bathroom, you got a little shower, you got a little fridge, you got a little stove. Why is it not residential with appropriate storage?
Well,
And then once that, do you Airbnb them?
Well,
Come
well,
on.
I think that I think that the applicant is making the argument that maybe he doesn't think that, I can't get your stuff, Jane. Maybe because of the access in Hayes Road, the residential units beyond, and if that were to become, how many units altogether are there? How many?
On this here, how many is this?
About 70s.
Yeah, so
70.
70, so you're
In
looking.
varying sizes.
Right, so the city is going, to ask for 1.5 or whatever parking spaces per, that's a lot of traffic, and maybe the planning would say, would dump this, because it's like, look, Hayes Road, you got a primary intersection, there's no light. So I am making a supposition that that's why they're coming together with this design, because it has less people at a time. Yeah. My question about having facilities in it, so all my work is up around Meredith and Moultonborough. And they just built something similar to this, right on the corner of, right near Greens Market. So it's an upscale self-storage that you could fit, actually a fairly decent sized RV or boat, like it's a big one. It has bathroom facilities, and you could live in it. And I think they sold them for like, I don't know.
Well, that's exactly where I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
to my
So-
point.
so they-
Instead of storage and us having to say no, why does it not come forward as residential with storage?
Yeah, fair. So what I'm saying is that this type of thing is like ridiculously wanted. I mean, that place sold out just like that. I think that there were like, let's say 20 units in there. They sold out, and they were asking a lot of money for them. So I'm saying that this kind of thing, I do think that it is something that's wanted, and that's my view that it's wanted. I love the look of it, I do, and I think that they're coming to us not for residential simply because I don't know if they could get the density of parking and occupancy. I don't think that they could get access through Hayes Road. I don't think.
Well, each one that has storage should be able to park a car
Right,
or a
right,
boat or a bike.
but that's a different metric though. Director, am I correct? When determining parking spaces, it's gonna
Yes,
be.
so you are correct. Residential has a different parking calculation than indoor self-storage.
Yeah, for sure,
Correct.
for sure. So, let's say that there are offices or shops or whatever that might be, there's a lot of traffic there.
Well, I'm not seeing any shops,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, did he just say storage and offices? Is that what he said?
Correct.
Right. Would allowing shops be something different in our zoning?
It'd be a more mixed
be a
use.
It would be a retail use.
Okay, all right, so they are not making a proposal for.
And that would have a whole new different parking requirement, based on the square footage of the building.
Of the office building, of the retail space, correct.
Okay. Well, the other thing, the question that I had when this came up, however many months ago, I wanted to hear from the high octane guy, see what he thought, just relative to that parking space and how it's been used for overflow and that kind of thing. So I'm glad that he was able to come. So I don't know, I really like the use of it, just because I think that people just dig it. The being able to park their stuff and whatnot. I just have concerns about just, it's gonna happen that people are gonna be living there. It's gonna happen.
Well, that's why I say it ought to be above board, right? Let's throw the bones down and say what it is.
Well, it's on the applicant to be able to say that, but You know, but it's not our job of the board to determine the veracity that they use the facility with. They're coming, we gotta take them as they say. We're not making an assumption that they're gonna be dastardly about what they're doing, right? So we're making the assumption that it's truly gonna be used exactly as they say. And if it's not, then the city has means of that. But I don't know, I'm kind of more in favor of it just because it's putting, again, defining a fact, I think it's putting a piece of property putting something really kind of cool looking on there. I think that people are really gonna dig it, just because I've seen other things like this and people just love this stuff. And I don't know, I just think that would fit really well. That's kind of my opinion so far. What do you guys think? Roland, what do you think? Because it's not a storage, but it is.
Well,
But it looks great.
the only thing that concerns me is, what if it becomes office space in residential? Residential, you gotta look at, it's gotta be a bedroom in the place.
Right, that's what we're talking about.
Because, you're gonna have to have, a full, toilet facilities.
So that's what we're showing.
Yeah.
I know, and, what's to stop a person from, putting an office up there and having people come in and buy things, for instance?
Well-
An insurance agent.
Well, we could, to answer your question, could we put in our motion to say that it can be used as an office space, but not like a publicly accessible office space? Director, is that something that we could?
I don't
Get
think
these
that would
things
be
over
an
in years, though.
appropriate, condition.
Okay.
Office space is office space.
Okay, fair enough then, right. So planning, okay, so they're coming with office space, and planning is gonna do the parking and traffic metric relative to what they're asking for, okay.
I'm curious, because if everybody works from home, where do you gotta go somewhere to work from?
Because your motorcycle's down below you, come on. You gotta get on your motorcycle, go around the corner, and have a beer. John
I
would
get
love
that part.
So, I don't know, what do you think, Mike?
Is there a chance that people, because they have that, might start using it as some place to live?
Well, I think the onus is on the owners to make sure that doesn't happen.
I mean, but
That's
you
all.
can't live in a storage
Right,
unit,
yeah.
that's what,
The onus is upon them, and if they cross that line, then the city has resources. Again, taking the application as it is, it's not our job to assign neither positive or negative motive, it is just as it is.
If we're looking at it like, like, sooner or later, changes are gonna be made, then we better not do it.
Well,
Because changes are going to be made. People forget over a few years, about why something was done. And,
That's not really our job right here now, is it?
what's that?
That's not really our job here, though, is it?
No.
To be the
But
moral, to be moral police?
I guess I see it as a place that people can live incorrectly, I mean,
Yeah.
people are gonna try to live there.
Yeah, but
And-
okay,
and
so
it's
if they
not-
do, then
They can't.
In that case, what, yeah,
call the police and they come and they evict them.
or that doesn't happen.
But I'm saying, they just let the owners know to say, hey, look, this is happening.
The owners aren't
You
gonna
can't
be
do it.
there.
You're gonna lose your operating permit, or I don't know how that side of things happen. But just, they're presenting the application just as they're stating it here. It's not for residential, there's a sink and a toilet.
And that extra bath.
No, it's a sink and a toilet. Oh, and a shower, okay, no, I saw that one, oops.
I mean, that's fairly obvious right there.
Yeah,
What if we did, what if, again, I don't know if we can do this or not.
And if you're really going to work somewhere for a long time during the day, yeah, it's nice to have a little bathroom. I get that part.
Well, what if we said no shower, it just has to be a powder room? I don't know if that's something that we can, Director, is that something that we can?
Where are you gonna put the bedroom?
No, they're not asking for a bedroom, I'm saying the
Not
bathrooms.
today, but,
You wanna take, where are we in the process? Do we wanna take input from
We already asked for,
we already,
do you want to ask for input from the owners?
I don't know.
I don't think so. We can only deal with the application as is, yeah.
Okay.
The applicant did say that they are amendable to that condition, should you
Right.
decide.
Did they say that in writing to you? or just a whispered comment? I'm trying to follow the orders, the rules here.
I'll write it right here, how's that?
We're trying to follow the rules.
Send it in.
Go ahead, John. I don't know, what do you think?
Yep. Personally, I'm torn.
Yeah.
I get it, I like the design, I get that it can look good.
But
I
where do you wanna
just
put it?
wish that component, instead of storage, was brought forward in another type of mixed use soup. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's 'cause we've, across the street on Scenic Road, and we denied, if not, there was influence up on where the 48 new houses are, and they all have a little garage
In my backyard.
up in,
My backyard.
on top of, on Route 3 there, Endicott Street North, next to Cumbies. So I'm torn. I get the process, this pressure of constant need of storage. You know, some of these other ones I've denied just because I didn't think it was the highest and best use for it.
Well, maybe ask the applicant to come back up and, you know, he's heard our conversation, our concerns. You know, I think that we're being pretty transparent about that. If you want to ask.
Do we want an input? Okay. Can we do this? Or is it out of, if it's out of order, I won't.
It is the board's decision if they want to reopen that.
I mean,
I'm ready to keep going.
okay, let's keep going then. I'm in favor. You know, I hear your concerns, but.
I think it's a great idea, I just think it's in the wrong place.
Okay.
I will entertain a motion.
Okay. Variance application
Just a minute.
2024-0015. The applicant is seeking a variance for unit density and allowable use. And the finding of fact is that granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. There has been no evidence presented either negatively or positively. If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be reserved. It is a unique property, and that the use is suitable for the immediate area. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would place unused property into circulation and for public use. And if the variance were granted, the value of surrounding property, there is no evidence either positive or negative, although on the residential side, I think the note inside said that the values would be similar. Am I mixing something?
No, that's just from the applicant.
Okay, yeah. Necessary hardships, certainly relative to the access on Hayes Road, will need to be dealt with in planning, and that is all. Oh, okay, interesting. So that was my motion to accept. Did you see this, Mike?
Are you going to make that part of your motion?
Okay, let's put it in there.
There you go.
Motion addendum, that the applicant consents that, to a condition that there will be no showers in the units. I am complete.
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. The motion is to approve.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, raise their hand. We have a singular vote to approve, and
Do you want to ask if there's any abstentions or
Are there any abstentions?
Deny.
That's a fair question.
Any against?
Anybody against this motion? And if you're not abstaining, now would be the time to raise your hand if you want to be against this motion. Being as we have one positive and I see 3 abstentions, the project fails to move forward here. And so I'd have to say that we failed to get the support of the project. Hopefully it can come forward in some other way.
So then you'll need another motion
Another motion
to do something else with the application then.
to deny it.
Whatever the board decides that they want to do with the application.
And our options are approve, deny.
You can table it until next month if you would like. You're either approving it, or you're denying it, or you're continuing it.
All right.
I move to deny.
Do you have a motion that says why you want to deny it?
Why I want to do it tonight? Because it's in the wrong place.
Well, you gotta have more than that.
All right?
You guys, you gotta stand on the box. We had, there was a motion, and we
Yep.
voted, and 3 of you didn't vote.
Right.
And none of you said that you abstained. What's that? If you guys,
Oh, hey.
right, I'm saying, if you're saying no, then let your hand say no.
I'm saying no.
Okay.
Well, then, make the motion to deny.
On the floor.
No, well, we voted just before.
All right.
I voted positively.
Okay, so what are we going, go back? We got a redo on our vote?
No, I'm just asking, if the 3 of you are saying no, then we're done, and then then we're done. We don't have to do anything else.
Or if you want to table it
But we're going to have the same,
same outcome.
But didn't we say at the beginning of the hearing tonight, when there were 4 members of this on this board, that it would require 3 people to pass, 3 votes to pass?
right.
There's only 1 vote on the floor. We don't need another vote.
I think we're just not sure where we should be going at this point, because this is a circumstance I know that I haven't been involved in yet.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue this. But otherwise, it's gonna come back with the same proposal. We'll be looking at the same stuff
Unless we vote to deny.
unless you vote to deny it.
Can we do that? Because we haven't settled.
I think you need to clarify where your positions are with the first vote, and then decide what you're gonna do.
Yeah, so if it's no, if the 3 of you are no, just put your hands up, no, you,
No.
okay. All right,
All
so
right,
fine,
there you
so
go.
the motion
So it
does, the
fails.
variance does not pass. There you go.
So now what do you want now, or what are you looking to do?
We're looking to say next.
They should go back to the drawing board. I mean, if they go back to the drawing board, they can come back another time and do a different presentation.
You'd have to continue it.
No,
Right now, you just denied it, and it's at a block. It needs to come up with a new concept.
so then you need to, you should probably continue so I can have legal here so they can give you guidance next time.
Perfect. I make a motion to continue this till our next meeting, which is April 15th.
How can we continue a motion that's been denied?
Well, good. I got myself jammed in a corner, don't I?
There you go.
You did.
Because you have to make a decision. You have to either approve it, deny it, or continue it. And you didn't approve it, that motion failed. That was what the motion was for, was to approve it.
Right.
The motion did not carry.
Correct.
So now you have to make a decision. You can approve it with other conditions if that's gonna appease you guys, or you can deny it outright right now, or you can continue it to the next meeting, and there might be other more
Well,
board
I
members
still
here.
have a motion on the floor.
Are you making a motion to, what is your motion on the
I
floor?
made a motion to deny, it hasn't been seconded.
Then,
Then do the whole motion.
Yeah, you have to
Chair,
read the
could I
whole
ask a
motion.
procedural question, not to the
Please.
substance? I think it would be is if you wanted to move it off to give the applicant an opportunity maybe to scratch his head and see if there's any way that he could do something to get your approval. I think someone that voted no could ask to reconsider to vacate the denial, and then someone makes a motion to continue it to the next meeting.
But if I,
Yeah, but don't you have to wait until
you still need 3
The what?
positive votes to pass it, because you're working with a light
Yeah,
board.
Yeah, I get that. I'm saying, no, but if you wanted to continue it, and I thought you were struggling
Yeah.
procedurally, I'm saying if someone that voted no moves to reconsider the denial motion, and then you vacate that, right?
Yeah.
Then someone can move to continue it.
you have to.
That's all I'm
The
saying.
vote has to come from the majority.
No, the
From
vote,
somebody that
the
made
mo-
the motion
the motion has to come from the person that said no, and then you need a majority to continue it. And that's the pleasure of the board, but I was just wondering procedurally, if you were struggling how to get there, that would be the way you could do it.
Yeah, thank you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Something, because we're stopped, but are we going to learn anymore? Or it gives them a chance to present.
Yeah, again, yeah.
So what's the motion that you have?
so
on the-
Okay, the motion is going to be, I'd like to reconsider following that procedurally, and then I'd like to make a motion to continue this until April 15th, where we can have a moment to look this over, the applicant can bring it, and we should hear it again.
So
to-
I think the board needs to make a motion to vacate
Vacate.
the current motion to
Okay,
deny.
I make a motion to vacate the current motion.
Now we need a second,
I'll second that.
and now we need to vote.
Vote to vacate the
The vacate.
To vacate-
position that we're stuck in.
Correct.
All right, here we go. I vote
right.
yes,
That's it.
you want to vacate this,
Can you raise
Roland?
your hand so we can see who's voting in which
I'm
direction?
voting no.
We're
Okay.
vocate, we're voting to
Oh,
be,
that's fine.
So
Okay.
three voted to approve to vacate.
Approve to vacate.
yep.
Are there any against?
Any against?
Can you
Can you
just
raise
raise
your
your
hand?
hand?
Yep, there you go, okay.
One against.
Thank you.
The motion carries to vacate. So now we can make another motion
To continue.
to continue. Thank you.
She can,
Continue on April 15th, and then we'll have a chance to chew this up a bit and really see how it can benefit the community. Is it a
Right.
benefit to
and
the
I think it'll be
community?
better, we'll have more people.
So in
To
the form of a
discuss it.
motion,
Okay, so the motion is that we continue this until
Can,
April 15th.
can you please read the application number?
Oh, yes, sir. I do have that right here.
Okay, right here. Oh, you got it.
No, I don't. Okay, application number 2023-0124 is a variance for storage in the commercial resort. I have a motion to continue this till April 15th. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Okay, let's vote on this to continue, Roland.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll take this up next month.
Okay.
All right, so here it is, a motion has been made, we have a second, and now we're going to vote yes. Do we want to continue?
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's patience.
time.
thanks, guys.
And thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
everyone's patience that's sitting out there.
John, Mike, this was a signed document
should
from.
probably
Yep,
go to
yep,
Scott.
let's go, Scott.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, I guess,
I need a glass of water. Just stressing out.
is that all you want?
All right.
Not too bad. All right, so I will keep this stuff.
All right.
Scott, should we keep this for the continuance, or will you give us,
We'll give you brand new stuff.
okay.
Freshen it up.
Some fluffy papers.
All right, that was fun.
Okay.
Push in.
This, I'm gonna put back in the file.
Yeah.
Seeing this here.
You get it.
All right. On to our next one. We're on 202-40015 variance on 504 Scenic Road. We're looking for a variance on density. Please come up and state your presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Byron Bedard. I'm an attorney with Ransmeyer and Spellman in Concord, New Hampshire. I represent the applicant, Scenic Road Realty LLC. With me tonight are the principals, John and Bill Connaughton, for Scenic Road Realty LLC. This is a 25,391 square foot lot on Scenic Road, known as 504 Scenic Road. It was currently used as a single-family residence. It is a non-conforming lot right now because the residence sits 19 feet back from the road, and that's too close. The setback there is 25 feet. Quite candidly, you know, what we're looking to do here is looking to remove that residence and to construct 5 single-family townhouses, townhouse style. Your packet should have a plan that shows, and if you don't have it, I'm happy to give you one, that shows both sort of a rendering of what the townhouse would look like, as well as an overlay on the boundary survey and the topo that shows where those units would sit and how they would sit back from the road. So what we do is we bring the lot into compliance, and by that we would put in the new units. They'd be back more than 25 feet from the road. They comply the side setbacks, the rear setbacks, and they would also comply the green space and other dimensional requirements that the city has. By right, under the city's ordinance for calculation for unit purposes, we would have the right to build 3 units. The calculation comes out to be about 3.5 units, but because the city ordinance requires you to round down, if there's a fractional unit, it rounds down to 3. Given the amount of engineering that has to occur to this site, doing just 3 units is just not economically feasible. However, we can get 5 units on there that makes this project viable, brings in housing, single-family housing into this neighborhood, consistent with the zoning. But we require a variance with respect to the density, because we can still, with 5 units, meet all the setback requirements, green space requirements, other dimensional aspects to this. So from this standpoint, we think this is a very good project for this location. And in terms of, you know, and so I gave you a narrative with the variance application that talks about all the different criteria and how we meet them. But just a very practical matter, just a brief overview, this is not changing that neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. To the south is a mobile home manufactured housing park that has a larger density than we do. There you have about 15 units on less than 2 acres there. 3 sides of our property surrounded by Aqua Vista LLC. And there may be a little bit that's as inside is DOT from the state of New Hampshire, depending on exactly how closely you read the survey. But, you know, candidly, there's other townhouses in this neighborhood. There's condominiums that abut this property already. This belongs to this neighborhood. It fits this lot. It is using it to a purpose allowed under the zoning ordinance, and we think that this board should grant that request for variance. And if you want me to address the special exception, I can do that too at the same time, because this is also multifamily. So we have a special exception application before you folks also, because this is a multifamily project, i.e. there's more than 1 dwelling unit, more than 2 dwelling units, which triggers the multifamily review by you folks. And this property is served by municipal water and sewer. That gets us here. I mean, you couldn't do this project if you didn't have that, both on the density side as well as on the special exception side. Because it's served by municipal water and sewer, it makes sense. There's going to be no additional burden here to the community. By that we mean we're going to pay for our hookups, we're going to pay for our water and sewer use. You're not going to have any sort of freakishly different use here that's required of it. This is not something that's going to require the fire department to buy a new ladder truck or something like that to reach the height or something like that. This is a very straightforward use. If anything, it's going to improve the safety out there by bringing the setbacks back into compliance. So you can see, you have better pedestrian access going up and down that road to the extent there is some, but that's what we have here. So from a special exception standpoint, we asked for the multifamily approval. We need that to do the 5 units. We need that to do the 3 units as a matter of right. So it's a very practical matter. It also makes sense from a multifamily standpoint, and there are no burdens on municipal services or issues of public health and safety that are triggered by conversions to multifamily from the existing single family that we have there. Does the board have any questions?
Any questions for the applicant from the board?
No.
How big is this lot again, just,
25,391 square feet, a little over half acre.
all right?
I think it's .53 or thereabouts, 5.8.
5.8, thank you. I just wasn't reading it.
Yeah, no, I just saw it there.
I'm sorry, it's a little small on the copy you have. I'd have to put my eyeglasses on to read it, to be honest with you.
Being as we don't have questions from the board right now, if you could take a moment and I can open this to the public. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against this project? Please
We
come up,
are-
introduce
Oh,
yourself.
I'm sorry. My name is Barbara Palazzo, and I'm from the Hills RV Park, which is the abutter to the proposed location. What I don't want to do is say that we are adamantly opposed to having condos there. What I do want to pose is that we do have some concerns about how that is going to impact the park.
That's fair.
Okay? That being said, some of those concerns, and we come from a long line of construction as well, so we understand how it all works. Some of the concerns that we have from the park perspective is we're, the Cleaver's house is how I know it, where the Cleaver's house is and the drainage that comes down the hill. That is all piping that's been put under the street, if you will, that kind of lines the driveway. It floods drastically, especially on the lower level of the park. So it comes down, lower level of the park, which would be the entrance, that floods. We then have the condos that were placed behind the park. Little back history there, when those were built, there was a lot of ledge, a lot of blasting, drainage. We are still working with trying to contain the drainage from that construction project. There was a lot of damage done to the park that had been remedied at the time, but we're still doing it. We have formed sinkholes in the ground that we're constantly having to mend with. If you go to the park today and look at it, you'll see the whole top level is flooded, and it's the drainage off the hill. So those are the concerns that we have, especially with that lot, because it is a small lot. We do know blasting is going to happen. It's all granite. The wall, if you will, the woods wall on the back of the park, it's very weak. It's going to crumble with the movement of the earth, right? Whether it's tree roots, whether it's blasting, whatever. The driveway specs, which is right next to the home, also contains the main sewer line for our park that's connected to the street. It's within 6 feet of the mailbox. And on the proposed map that was there, it showed kind of, I'm gonna, lack of a better term, if you will, in one driveway, kind of out the other, abutting that same spot, which you're now going to have to do construction vehicles, which will also need to be on my property in order for them to conduct the construction they need at that spot, just by mere shape of the existing lot and how it's very filled in, right, with tree and stone, and the house needs to be removed and all of that stuff. I say all that in the concern of how it's going to impact the park. We have a season. We're opening now, coming up in May. This is when our season opens. We have campers on those lots right next to where the construction is going to take place. So does that mean people that have paid the park rent for their seasonal enjoyment is going to listen to blasting and all of those things, and want to leave the park, right? Those are all concerns we have. So again, I started this with, we're not adamantly opposed, but I have to think of how this is going to work on the impact of our property. One of the things we were open to is having conversation about how we're going to, if damage is done, how that's gonna rectify. How are we going to, the equipment on the lots, how is that not going to impact our seasonal campers, those types of things. And then again, for us, the park does have some future, more immediate future thoughts, right? Are we gonna do condos, and do the variances impede upon what we would be allowed to do? Are we going to sell the property? All of that is in thought, shall I say that? So although we don't want to say, hey, we object to your plan, we need more information and maybe to have some conversations about how to, you know, protect ourselves and that piece of property from all of the things that either will have potential to impact us financially and, you know, other people that have purchased the land there for their lease of the season.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Before we bring it back to the board, could I speak to the applicant one more time, see if we can massage any feelings here?
Yes. We have no desire to cause any sort of negative impact on the park. If anything, when this project is complete, the park should not be any worse off than it is, and will probably be better off than it is right now, in terms of the engineering that's gonna have to be done for this project to contain the stormwater on our property, as opposed to, which is probably already going onto their property now, given the age of the Lever residence that was there for the last, at least 60 years. That residence has been there, and it actually probably goes back to 1947, if I understood how to work correctly on it. So, you know, it's a very practical matter. It should improve the park just by virtue of doing the project, because it's going to take care of things that weren't dealt with all along. In terms of damage to infrastructure there, that's an issue that we have to deal with as a developer to make sure the city is copacetic with what we're doing. I mean, very candidly, the city does not want us going out there and doing things that are going to disrupt the sewer main, water main, the drainage by the side of the road, any of those things. So it's a very practical matter. My clients are vested in making sure those things don't happen. They're also vested in being good neighbors, not having anything bad happen to these folks, because as a very practical matter, they want to have a good relationship with them, in large part because they're going to be neighbors to each other. We're going to want to sell units there. They're going to be looking into the park. So as a very practical matter, that can and will happen. This is the first step in the process, which is if we don't have a variance, then we can't go to the planning board and talk about resolving these issues. Everything from timing to how it gets done. You know, you saw what conceptually we're envisioning doing here and what the engineers suggested to us, which is a horseshoe-style driveway of entrance and exits. The planning board could say to us, we don't like that, and we have to go back and figure something else out. But that's what we have conceptually for a project. We're looking for you folks to approve two things we want here. Density variance for 5 units and a special exception allowing multifamily. The two of them go hand in hand. That's all you're approving here. You're not approving us committing any sorts of environmental terror, infrastructure damage, or anything like that. We need this to go to the planning board with a concrete plan that, very candidly, not only have input in, but my clients would welcome a discussion with you over, you know, how can we make this work for both of us? Because if candidly, if there's a 3 to 5 month period in the summertime when it doesn't make sense to have work being done that's very disturbing to their park, that's something we don't want to have happen. We don't want to have, you know, someone being called every day at the city complaining about it either, on our side of the coin. The flip side to it is, if we need some space to move around on, maybe when they're not in session, we could have some use of the area of the park to do those things with, so the construction goes faster. Those are all factors that, frankly, from our standpoint, are a planning board issue, not a ZBA issue. And I don't mean to dismiss your comments. I appreciate your comments, but that's what we're looking at here, is that we need these approvals to go to the planning board, and frankly, the planning boards, we're going to hammer these things out as to what the final project is, and frankly, in conjunction with your planning department. I mean, we're going to spend some time with them over what do these plans look like, how do they comply.
So at this point, you're not going to start doing construction by Bike Week?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, Motorcycle Week.
Sorry, I remember when it was Bike Week too.
Charlie just left, I'm in
Yeah,
trouble.
I was just gonna say, he just left, you're okay.
So anyhow, that's why we're here, but, you know, I'll say this, we aim to be good neighbors, we hope we have good neighbors, and we think we do, and so we really want that to occur, but we need the variance and the special exception in order to do this.
All right, thank you, sir.
Well,
One more time, because we've been playing this game all night. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to speak for or against this?
I can just go again and make one comment. The only thing that,
Hey.
sorry, the only thing that we would like to see is, again, if we could just maybe continue it and meet ahead of time so we can have some of these discussions before anything gets approved or not approved, because it's very simple for me to come in and say, hey, I don't want this to happen, but that's not what we're saying. We're just saying, can we have a simple discussion, owner to owner on properties, to see how it's all gonna work so everybody can get a good understanding versus deny them or don't approve this or whatever.
I would say that if it goes forward here, or if it goes forward, you've seen us struggle. So you would have your chance to address all of that as the process goes along, and that is planning, and that's working with the TRCs, it's working with more detailed plans than what we have right here. There's be drainage, there'll be electrical, there'll be
Yeah, again, like I said,
all the interface
yep,
with the water and sewer, and so I think you're, still have an avenue for interaction.
perfect.
Bringing it back to the board,
So we're dealing with the variance for density, and
I have
it's-
a question on the density.
what's that?
I have a question concerning density,
Okay.
All right, go.
and I think I have to ask the attorney a question. Now, when you're going from 3 units to 5 units, it's going to take away some of the open space that you have at the house over there now. I'm looking at these pictures. Are there 2 garages under each house, and are the houses built on the garage, or are the garages just the driveways of the street?
so the units that we envision would have garage unders. There'd be a driveway area in front of each of the units, and there'd be connections out to the street, 2 common connections out to the street, one entrance, one exit type situation. That's what we envision. The engineering preliminaries that we've done on this indicate that we're gonna have a 40 by 120 foundation area, is it? 40 by 120 foundation area that will allow us to meet our 65% green space requirement for this property. I mean, we've taken a fairly hard look at this in terms of can we meet, the requirements of the zoning here, and the engineers believe that we can, if we properly construct this.
Thank you.
That help you, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
So anyway, variance and just moving density, and I think that it's reasonable.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think
I
that's.
think it's got the storage downstairs and it comes off like real live residential, don't mind
There you
me.
go.
Okay.
Want a
All right.
motion?
We would entertain a motion,
Make a motion to.
and we're going to start with our variance for density, correct?
I make a motion to approve variance 2024-0015 for relief from density. The granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because it moves the lot from non-compliance to compliance. The granting of the variance keeps the spirit of the ordinance because it is reasonable relief from the density requirement. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because primarily, it removes an outdated structure and replaces it with new. The surrounding properties, the applicant did not present evidence either for or against, but the building itself is suitable for the area.
I will second.
Okay, everybody,
Oh,
in support of our variance for density at 202-40015, 504 Scenic Road. We'll vote to approve the density. Everybody in favor? Aye. So that passes 4-0. Now our next one.
Do you want to open that to the public first?
Do you want to open that to the public first? Okay, we will. Okay, we're on to 202-40016 at 504 Scenic Road. We're looking for a special exception for multifamily. Was there anything you'd like to say on this?
More than I already said?
No.
Then nothing more.
There you go. Just ask.
Appreciate that, thank you.
All right. So in this here, this goes along with, how the Weirs is developing. Okay, one more time here.
Want me to do the,
No, you can, in a moment.
okay.
I'm going to ask if anyone wants to speak for or against this.
Only for the record to reiterate my previous concerns with the previous one, no need to do it again.
Perfect, thank you very much. All right, I'd like to take, would you back to discussion between the board?
It's reasonable.
Reasonable? All right, then I'll entertain a motion for approval for a special exception for 202-40016 at 504 Scenic Road.
I move that we make an approval on Z 02024-0016 for a special exception in a shorefront residential area for multifamily as specified by the developer in their application. The developer being Scenic Road Realty LLC.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Density and multifamily. Welcome to the Weirs. How we doing, kids?
We're doing okay.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Do you want to take a recess?
I have to pee.
Okay, let us, may we take it upon ourselves to
He needs to relieve himself.
have a 5-minute recess, and then we'll start all over again.
Make it quick, make it snappy.
Okay, super.
All right.
Thank you for all you guys do for our community.
So that's for the next one, which is Garfield Street. And then when you finish, I'll grab it.
All right, perfect.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, that's for planning board.
So, the next planning board, assuming it goes favorably, the next planning board would be the April meeting. So the
Right.
next TRC meeting is not until after that planning?
Right, so we're gonna do on our staff report that we think the application is complete, needs further review from the departments, and that they continue it until the May hearing.
But they would accept it as a.
But they would accept it as a complete application.
Okay, so how am I aware of the TRC meetings? That's the first I've ever heard of it, that's all.
So it was on the application in the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just part of that whole review process to go to planning
Yeah,
board.
that's a new one for me, I didn't have that in there, so.
It's all right.
Cool,
We'll get through it.
I appreciate it.
If we can make through zoning board, we can make through anything.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna grab your phone. Then I was like, no, not.
Two more.
white jazz? Calm you down a little bit, be a little soothing?
No.
Just like a drink with an umbrella?
Like jazz. Jazz hands.
Jazz hands?
I think my brain is tired.
A little bit, a little bit.
You know, I came in.
What's the pin?
Oh, Air Force.
Yeah. What's your army lapel? Where's my lapel? True.
You know what we need to do? I think we need to. Do we have our book of Robert's rules downstairs?
It's right in my office.
Yep. We need to
I need to read that.
We need to
Read.
read that.
You got it. Hello, sir. Question. Yes.
You have a meeting sometime.
Huh?
You have a meeting sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you want to.
Okay, right on, I'll give you a call.
Anytime.
How many days on the job for you?
All of them. You haven't missed a day yet?
And he is the dry British humor guy.
So just over what's that? Almost
2 months for you.
almost 2
I
months
had
now.
a
Almost
bear
2 months.
in my yard last night.
State.
Two more.
State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were here.
I was here
Two
before.
more.
I was here.
No, I'm.
You had 2 bears?
We have two more cases.
Oh, no, I says I had a bear in my yard last night.
You did?
I'm sure you did.
Was he going
Because
after your
they
bird
like my
feeder?
bird feeder.
I was just gonna say, your bird feeder's still out?
Yes, and you know what, I've refilled it.
Yeah. My wife wouldn't buy me more
Yeah.
bird food.
Was he going after your
Well,
bird
because I had it on a wrought iron post that I stuck in the ground.
Bend it right over.
And, well, it wasn't bent over, it was just knocked over, and then I found my feeder in my neighbor's backyard. So I am assuming it was a bear.
I'll be done.
A lot of experience going to.
I look out one day, my,
But they didn't touch my other bird
This is my
feeder,
second zoning board
and they didn't
meeting.
touch my neighbor's bird feeder.
oh,
Definitely
all right, here we go.
Okay, where do you live?
Right down the street.
Okay, I had one in my yard last night. I'm assuming because my bird feeder was violated.
All right.
Right down.
Well, mine was in a thing that I stick in the ground, and so he didn't have a heart. And
Yeah, anytime.
it probably just comes up to here on me when I'm standing up, so it wasn't, he didn't have to take it out of the ground, actually.
All right, we're all here?
Okay, we're going to jump right into this because in tradition for ZBA, we don't open any other action after 10 o'clock. That's our cutoff time. So we got two
Two more.
here to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to play with
Garfield.
Garfield Street. We're looking for a variance for density. It's, okay, I'm sorry. Call the meeting back to order at 9:18. We're looking at Garfield Street, 20240017. We're looking for a variance, 85 Garfield Street, variance for density. Please step up and tell us how we can help you.
Good evening. So, yeah, you've already said what I'm looking for. My name's Ron DeDuca. I just bought the property. It's a property that's been neglected for quite a while, so what I'm looking to do is go from 1 unit to 2 units. So I'm looking to turn the garage into the second unit. So it's already there, and I think you have the paperwork there. Everything is well within the setbacks. Obviously, we have this housing crisis going on, so my goal is to improve the whole area, bring the place up to what should be current conditions. And from what I've seen and through my research, it meets within the density requirements, according to talk to Public Works, looking at the planning and zoning. And then, you know, I've talked to the utility departments. There doesn't seem to be any issues there. And also what I'm trying to do is, if you look at the drawing, I'm gonna tear down, there's 2 sheds on there right now that aren't within the setbacks,
All right.
which I'll be tearing down to also help improve. And,
That are or aren't within the setbacks?
well, all I can tell you is from what I see, they're currently not. They should be, but they've been there from what I know of. I mean, I'm told forever. I don't really know what forever means, but So I'm looking to remove those, obviously offer more, more space and then, just make the garage the second unit that's already there, because it's got this flat roof that really has not much purpose.
You're adding this 10 by 20 onto the garage?
Yeah, what I did is I asked for what I felt would be maximum. I haven't done the official design yet. I literally purchased this at 8:30 this morning. I've been dealing with a title issue for over a month when I applied for this. They gave me the power of attorney to apply and all that. But that's what I figured would be the actual maximum requirements, and if anything, I'll go that or less. So I'm gonna come up with a design over the next week or so. I just needed to make sure that before I put too much trouble in it, the title would go through. And like I said, the parking's not an issue. I've already talked to all utilities, Public Works, all that. Everybody's good.
You're still maintaining a green space?
Oh, yes. Yep. I've had that all figured out. That's not any issue.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the board?
I just want to make sure I understand this here. So this is the house you're purchasing, and this is the addition you're gonna put on right there.
So that's the garage.
That's
Yep.
the garage.
The house is next to it.
Okay, so this is where you're putting,
I'm putting on the garage.
make that a.
I'm just
a
gonna make the
residential
garage a
unit.
little bit bigger, yep.
Where's the house again?
So the house is the big one right here.
Oh, okay.
So that's the house. I'm just looking to
Okay, now I get it.
increase the
I
garage,
get it now,
because
thank you. I needed to make sure.
Are there any other questions for the applicant from the board at this time?
Not from me.
All right, if you take a moment. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to speak for or against this proposal?
Good evening, my name is Alex Luoma, 44 Grant Street. I am the abutter directly across from the garage in question of being made into a second unit on the property. I don't know if I'm necessarily speaking for or against, really.
all right.
So much as just asking a few questions about it as well. In the first part of this statement, it says that we would like to enhance the property that has been run down for years, but the only plans that are shown are in regards to potentially adding on and changing the garage. As he stated, the property has been pretty dilapidated for a very long period of time, so our hope is just that overall, the entire property will get brought up to standards as well as doing the addition. And then our second concern, I guess, when stating wanting to add a unit in order to help housing, does this mean we're gonna be looking at possibly accepting things like state vouchers? And the only reason that we ask that is simply because we've rented a commercial space here in Laconia as a business owner and chose to close our location due to our landlord having changed their place to accepting those vouchers, and just watched as that area turned to trash from those state voucher renters. Not that I have an issue with low income. The only other question that I would have is in regards to the current drawing on that, where it shows a 16 by 40 foot map on the garage. I'm just looking for clarification because that garage is in fact only 26 feet by 16 feet. So is the addition of the 10 by 20 going to extend that to where that shows the 40 feet etched in, or would that be in addition to, what does that look like? And that might be a question for the planning board, not this board. I apologize if that's not a question necessarily for you guys. However, in an overall, I do want to say that I think the idea of elevating this property is a wonderful thing. Additionally, there are multiple multi-units on the road, so I don't think I have the right to stand here and vouch against it under the pretense that we moved in with multi-family units on the road. We just would love to see that it, is brought up to a standard that we would all like to see in town, I'm sure. Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the audience who'd like to speak for or against this proposal? If you could come up, I'd take input again.
Well, I think what this gentleman's asking for, and I think I answered part of it. So, I mean, I already put a brand-new roof on this, and I didn't even own it.
Right.
So that was my deposit. So that kind of shows you that I'm headed in the right direction. That's already done. Plan on vinyl siding, all that. I mean, my goal is to make this place, I mean, if I own it, I mean, I don't want it to go downhill. My whole idea is to increase property value, and obviously, like I said, I know we got a housing crisis, and I want to make sure people that are, whether it's my house or anybody's house that I'm involved in, that, are right, handling it in the right manner, that they're not bringing it downwards, we're bringing it upwards. So that would be my goal.
Perfect. Can I ask here, without confusing things too much, we're talking about density. If this was an ADU, does it make a difference?
An ADU doesn't count against density. So if it's an ADU, they'd be here just for the special exception. And the only thing the ADU holds them to is the size of the ADU unit, and then having it to be their primary residence, one of the units being their primary residence.
And it's not.
That's about the only difference between that and a two-unit, which is why they've probably requested the variance, just to go to the two-unit. But they're not limited by perhaps the ADU size or restrictions.
I'll bring it back to the board, thank you.
So Director, my question is, what is the variance for? Because it's still not clear to me if they're saying that they meet density, if the zoning is correct for it, then what is the variance for?
No, they're here for density.
They're here for density.
They need a variance for density. They don't meet a two-unit.
Okay, fair enough then. So, what's the zoning here? What is the zoning here?
RG.
It's RG, which allows for 6 units per acre.
Yep, yep.
And this is a .23 acre lot.
Understood, okay, fair, so that's the relief.
Under that, it would only allow for
Right.
1.38, but it rounds down.
Yep.
So they're really just requesting the relief to bring it.
Sure. So this is relief from density, yeah, so, slam dunk. This is great use for it.
I do have a letter here speaking against it.
Is this in the public record?
Yes, it is now, but you should read it. Just so you're fully informed.
Yep.
All right. And we will hand that back in the end.
Yeah, so it's good use of the property.
Do you know who the letter is from?
It gives a Robert
And Katie Mayo.
And they're in opposition to the application?
Yes. Yeah. So it's the density, it's just a little bit of relief from density, it's good use of the property, upgrading it, I think it's great.
I concur.
That's my opinion.
I concur. Anybody else? I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the density variance for 2024-0017. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. The spirit of the ordinance is reserved relief from a small portion of density requirement, and also to increase the housing capability of the city. Granting of the variance does do substantial justice because it does upgrade an existing property that is ready to be upgraded. And the property values surrounding this particular property, the applicant nor anyone gave any evidence, compelling evidence in either way. But a newly renovated home generally does pretty good. I'm complete.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor of granting the variance, raise their hand. 4-0. Enjoy.
Good luck.
That letter's public record?
Yep.
We can get, if you want, we can get you a copy tomorrow.
Yeah, I just want to be a good neighbor, so I'd like to talk to him and see what I can do to help him out.
There you go. Perfect.
That's nice.
That's all fine, thank you.
Oh. And coming down the home stretch.
Last one. Last one.
Wow.
Get to it, through it. All right, so we're looking here at item 21 on our agenda tonight. And this is 2024-0018. We're looking for a special exception at 144 Valley Street. And they're looking to use it as a boarding house. This is in, what zone is this in?
RR1, I believe.
On Valley Street? RG.
RG1, sorry.
All right.
Good evening. My name is
Greetings,
Jamie.
and how can we help?
Yeah, my name is Jamie Irving. I'm here on behalf of my mom, Susan Irving. My apologies that all my notes are on my phone, and my phone just died. But I think you have all the information that we're basically asking that this change of use allow for the boarding. I believe there are 7 individual rooms housing 7 individuals. Each room has its own bath and shower. There are shared kitchenettes for those units, and then there's a last unit that is a single room apartment that has its own kitchenette and shower and bath. It's been run this way since my mom bought it, I believe, and they've done substantial improvements over the past, I guess it's 11 years now, including new painting, exterior painting, new roof, or new asphalt on the roof anyway. They got a state grant to insulate the foundation, so they've made significant improvements on the property. The parking, I don't know if you have the site, would they have the site plan that I drew up? Okay, because all I saw was,
No, I don't see
okay.
that as part of the application.
I can I brought a single copy, I wasn't sure how many I might. So this is a plan that I actually drew based on a survey that was done some time ago. But I was asked for the planning board, and we were kind of doing things a little bit out of order. That's kind of the way my mom works sometimes, but she was anxious to get this ball rolling. So for the planning board, I assembled a packet that includes that site plan with the designated parking that shows more than adequate parking for the 8 residents. I think if we actually pushed it, we could get as many as probably 10 or 11 parking spaces there and still have enough room for snow removal, snow storage. There is a dumpster on site. And yeah, I think that's all the information I have for you, off the top of my head anyway.
Thank you. And one moment while I ask, I'll take a moment. Oh, wait a second. Any
You have any
questions
questions
from
for
you
me?
guys? You guys, don't let me run off the leash here. Being no questions just yet, I have a question as to how we define boarding house, and is it allowed in RG? And is that through?
I couldn't find anything, I don't know if I couldn't find anything regarding boarding houses.
It is under residential special service, and it's permitted by a special exception,
Which is why we're here.
which is why, right.
And I think the term special service is actually quite appropriate. I mean, a lot of these folks are otherwise wouldn't really have the means to afford an entire single family or single apartment, or even a studio apartment for that matter. So it definitely provides a service. And I know right now there are currently 3 veterans being housed in there as well. So yeah.
Take a moment. We're going to ask anybody from the audience if they want to speak for or against this. Please stand up and introduce yourself.
My name's Bob Arzilli. I live at 122 Valley Street. Well, at least I'm going to be there in 6 weeks. My house burned down on Father's Day last year.
No way.
It's the house directly behind 144 Valley Street. And as far as the parking lot's a pit. It's full of water. The place has got mattresses all around it. There's a garage on the property that's dilapidated and ready to fall down. And what I would like to have is, if you could explain to me what the difference between what it is now and what a boarding house is. Because it can't get any different, I don't think. I mean, what's going to happen? People aren't going to have a lease. They just come and go as they please. There's going to be different people there all the time. I don't understand what this is.
We'll ask.
Can you?
We will. I promise.
Because we're not really happy about this at all.
So the history to this is the house was for sale, and somebody came in inquiring about the house being for sale and its use as it was listed as a boarding house. We searched back through, and we had it listed as a 2-family, but it had been being used for the last 12 or so years as a boarding house. So we contacted the applicant to ask them what's going on, and this is the process to make it the correct legal use, which is what brought them here. So they've been doing it as a boarding house, unknowns to them that they weren't permitted for that use. So now they're here. This is the first step. They'll come through the zoning board for a special exception. Should the board approve that, then they still need to go to planning board so that we can review the driveway and everything else that's going on there. And there's other factors that the planning board will address, such as sprinkler system and all the life safety aspects that go with it being a boarding house. So, correct, they're looking to make this a legal use.
Yep.
It was unbeknownst to them that it wasn't a legal use, so we're trying to help them through the process to make it legal.
And clean it up at the same time.
Correct.
Right.
So how many people will be?
Yeah, how many people are going to be able, I mean, can they have as many people as they
Please
want
step
there?
up. Please step up and introduce
How many people
yourselves.
will, my name is Jackie Arzilli, I live at 122 Valley Street, I'm displaced at the moment. How many people will be living in that unit, in that whole building?
I'll have to approach the answer, so I'll do that.
Yeah, so I want to know how many people are gonna, like, the maximum load in there. I want to know how many people. There is a lot of parking, like he says, it's a large parking lot, but it is a mess, but that's okay. But there's a lot of traffic on that street as it is, and I don't want to see any more than there's already there. There's a
Thinking
lot
that
of young
these-
families that have just moved into that street, and I think we'd like to keep it more of a neighborhood. You know, there is, lots of multi-families on the street, but it's quiet. And this particular house sometimes really does raise some ruckus. Maybe, wasn't there over the summer, but we moved here in 2019 in August, and, every night, it's really a loud place, so I just, what,
The police are always in the parking lot, they're either sitting in there or serving people in and out.
So-
I mean, we got a bird's eye view of this place, it's right in front of us.
so I just want to make sure it's safe, for us as residents, and that it doesn't, deter from my property value.
Correct, and if it was cleaned up, it would improve.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yes,
and now I understand that it's not, a boarding house to me is something that comes You know, there's people that just come in for a month at a time or whatever, you know. But
I mean,
if
there's a
it's the
lot that
same
goes
use
with
as
a
they're
boarding
using it, I don't think that I have a problem with it. As long as
But
it's
you
the
wanna
same
make
use
sure
as I've
it stays
witnessed it, as long as
above board.
it's.
It can't
yeah.
change
Yeah.
from what it is. I mean, it was there when we came.
Right.
There's nothing we
Well-
can do about that.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to get worse, different.
Yeah, I was thinking that a boarding house was where people just rented and they would change the whole space into just single rooms, but that's not what you said, so
Okay, thank you.
that's all I have.
Could I speak to the sir again?
Yeah, just a
So, what did I hear? 7 rooms and one
Seven-
apartment that has its own kitchenette.
Correct, and I believe they're all single occupancy. I don't think my mom allows more than one person per room. In fact, I know she doesn't because one of those people tried to have his daughter live there and she didn't allow that. I can't speak to the apartment. I imagine it's just single occupancy, but I think probably at most it'd be 2 because it's only a single bedroom. To the water in the driveway, yeah, there is one low spot to the rear of the property where the garage they spoke of. That is a low spot, and it is a challenging spot because that is at the toe of the slope that's right behind them. And it's also where the snow storage is. So that's definitely a challenge. My mom's long-term partner has regraded the driveway a number of times, so it's not as though that it's, being ignored. It is just a bit of a challenging site. I don't know about the mattresses part. I mean, I was just there and actually took site photos and aerial photos of the entire property. I didn't see a single mattress outside. That's not to say that it hasn't happened in the past, but when I was there last, there was nothing there. The garage definitely is in disrepair, so that's, obviously a point of, an opportunity for improvement. All the renters, I do believe, have leases. It's not a come and go as you please situation. So they are long-term rentals. It's very much not an STR, STL, as you guys call it in Laconia.
I have a question. Is this gonna be used as a halfway house or a recovery center?
No, it's not. So. Please.
You provide meals?
No. No, it's all, in all essence, it's in a, yeah, just their apartments, but they're just,
It's a bedroom.
the only difference between what the situation with the 7 rooms is and an efficiency apartment is the shared kitchenettes. Otherwise, they're all just essentially single room studios. They all have their own bathroom, and yeah, it's just the shared kitchenettes. Alrighty, thank you.
Is there anybody else that I need to be aware of?
Yes, I'll make myself aware, make you aware of myself here. My name is Ray Tatu, and I own 149 Valley Street, which is almost immediately across, maybe about one house over. And although I have sympathy for affordable housing, I'm in opposition to this. The boarding house / rooming house clientele, they do tend to be very transient. And, although I hear that there's long-term leases, it is that nature, that type of facility tends to lean towards those sorts of folks, oftentimes underemployed or unemployed, and sometimes can have social assimilation challenges. So just to paint a picture of one of my concerns in what I've witnessed when I've been in the area. Now, the property I own, I should clarify, it is a duplex that I rent out both sides to. One side, there's a number of single people that live in there, and the other side, there's a family with a 8-year-old child. So again, sort of paint pictures of one of my concerns and what I've witnessed is, the demographics of these types of folks at that income level, they tend to be smokers, and that's just a statistical fact. And, they tend to smoke outside, of course, and hang around, and sometimes they'll group together and hang around outside. And so, small groups may form, and, and this can make, some neighbors and, specifically my tenants maybe feel a little unsafe. I certainly don't want to cause turnover, with my tenants and create a more challenging, make it more challenging to re-rent the units, my units, that is. One thing I did find that was sort of curious, because I did drive by on the way here just to sort of refresh my memory of what, excuse me, what the building looked like. The building in general is in disrepair. I mean, it kind of looks like it's probably a boarding house or rooming house. But one thing I did find curious is a sizable no trespassing sign right on the front porch, right on the front door, very visible. So that sort of gives me an indication that there has been trouble there before with people that should not be there. And of course, this type of property can reduce the value of neighboring properties, so I certainly don't want my property value to go down. So if this is approved, I certainly hope that and I know this is out of your scope, but I certainly hope that the planning board would stipulate that the property definitely be cleaned up, and reduce the eyesore that it is today. But once again, I do have a concern about increasing that population, although I now understand maybe it's been being used that way, for a number of years. But I certainly don't want to encourage more of that. Thank you.
Well, is there anybody else who would like to say something? We winnowed them out tonight. Like to bring it back to the board for discussion?
So basically, this special exception is to correct something that was made wrong 12 years ago. Right?
Correct.
So it's been in use as a boarding house for this period of time, and
if one were considering to move forward in a positive manner on this, certainly we could put in conditions like limit the number of people who live there, one per room, and the efficiency.
is that something that we can do?
I think that the fire department will actually
Yeah,
set
yeah, yeah.
occupancy limit
Yeah.
once they inspect the facility and go through as part of their planning board approval.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you have an official boarding house, is there like an ongoing, I say an inspection, what I'm looking for, like a department in the city that actually oversees that?
So the fire department goes out on a very regular basis to
Okay,
inspect these.
perfect. So there's more oversight on the city side. And now, does the planning board have authority that as the applicant brings their application before, does the planning board, again, it's not our job to determine whether something's beautiful or ugly, right? That whole range, that's not our job. But does the planning board have the ability or the ability to say, look, we're gonna do this, but here are some rules that you need to have? Because boarding houses, this kind of thing has like a negative connotation. And if the city were serious about it, does the city help the owners to say, hey, look, here's some things that you gotta do?
Yes, so the planning board has the ability to add conditions
Okay.
to any sort of approval that they do for that boarding house. Should it be approved at this board and move forward to
Yeah,
that?
fair. So we could just say to the people that have concerns, just make sure your voice is heard at the planning board, and they're the ones that are actually gonna have the authority to do that. With that in mind, I'm fine with this, for me.
How about you, Roland?
I know this house from way back.
I bet you do.
In fact, I had it insured
Did you
years
go
ago.
up there?
Yeah, it was,
So what do you think
We love
about
you,
it?
Roland, we really do. We appreciate you.
What do you think about the house?
it was, as far as I knew, it was always a boarding house because, my regular companies wouldn't insure it because of that reason. They didn't insure boarding houses. So I had to go with a surplus lines company, which meant they would take it, but under different circumstances. Yeah, I knew the guy that owned it. I've been trying to sit here thinking what his name was, because he lived in Sandmanton, and I can picture him, but I just can't remember his name. And so that's my experience with that house, 144 Valley Street.
There you go. Want a motion?
Yep. Let's rock and roll. We're 9:50.
I make a motion to approve the special exemption 2024-0018 to allow for a boarding house. The requested use is not specially authorized, but it is allowed by exception. The requested use will not, there's been no evidence that will say the traffic or pedestrian flow will change. And the building has been used in this manner for, at least in this public record, 12 years. There is no evidence that there will be additional load on city systems. There is no evidence that this will create excessive demand for municipal services. And there is also no evidence provided that there will be a detriment to the community. I'm complete.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Everybody vote to approve the motion. Let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is now officially a boarding house, but now it moves to planning, right? And conformance.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. On our agenda, do we have anything else that needs to be dealt with or taken care of? Any notes? Have we had enough discussion tonight?
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we'll vote on adjournment, acceptance of adjournment. This meeting is done.
I was wondering what that noise.